who demonstrated he is quite able. Hi-oh. Yeah, I was working on these lines all weekend. General Kane describing the prep work for the mission that took place. We have that. General Kane on the prep work.
Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel so, as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings.
And this is what why the military, the U.S. military, is the one institution that still enjoys supermajority respect among the American electorate, because they are disciplined and precise and brave and competent. Yeah, there are examples when the leadership fails, where missions go awry, or where missions are ill-defined, or there is not the commitment. Again, it's usually at the leadership level. So Abbey Gate, for example, the Afghanistan withdrawal. But when you have the proper leadership that is focused on the fundamental mission as opposed to social engineering gambits, it is incredible what our men and women in uniform do. And perhaps no mission of recent memory was more incredible, considering the complicated nature of this, and that it was pulled off exquisitely and without a single U.S. casualty. Remarkable. And something, before we get back to more color from Kane on the mission, something that Tom Cotton said in enduring Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation yesterday about Trump's approach to war and the military commanders who execute the approach the commander-in-chief delineates. Something about his way of war. And this speaks to the caterwauling you immediately heard from the left, and that you heard all weekend, that you will continue to hear. Trump's way of war. The context of this is important, and we'll talk about this top of the 7 o'clock hour in more detail with Stephen Bucci, but you see a pattern with his approach.
But I don't think the president, combat and stabilization forces are.
But I don't think he plans to do that. And I think we've seen too the president's way of war over the last, or over 5 years in office. If you look at 4 major operations: the killing of the ISIS leader in Syria, the drone strike against the Iranian terrorist mastermind in Iraq, the strike against Iran's nuclear facilities, and now this capture of Nicolas Maduro. When our vital national interests are implicated, the president takes bold, audacious, direct action. He accomplishes the mission, and then the mission is over. In some ways, this is the greatest mission of them all. I mean, as impressive as our military was in Iran in June, or in its first term in Iraq and Syria against those terrorist masterminds, it's probably harder to capture someone and get out with no American loss of life than it is to kill a target or to blow up nuclear facilities.
Yeah, it probably is. I take Tom Cotton, who's also a veteran, take his word for it, but that certainly seems to me. But I like a little bit of perspective here on Trump's approach to things. It is to take audacious action, the audacity of Trump. Sorry, President Obama. It's been subordinated. Your audacity has been subordinated, just as the Monroe Doctrine has been subordinated to the Donroe Doctrine.
All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries, and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines, and the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Donroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore.
The Monroe Doctrines has been replaced by the Donroe Document or something to that effect. Yeah, that's pretty clear. Vince and Waukegan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan.
Morning.
I was in the Navy in 1988. My ship pulled into Caracas, Venezuela, and it was a fantastic country to visit, and the people treated us like gold, absolute gold. And
Vince, sorry. Vince, hold on. Sorry, you cut out there. Your ship arrived in Caracas. We pick it up there, please.
Oh, yeah. My ship pulled into Caracas, and, we went ashore and visited, and the people were fantastic, and the country was great. And Maduro turned that place into a hellhole. He needed to be removed. I don't care what the left is crying about. That guy needed to go, and Venezuela is better off because of it.
Thanks for the call, Vince. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll get into, I do want to, of course, we'll get into the, did he have the authority to do it? Does he have the authority to do what he's doing now? Because this is where some of the criticism is coming from, the usual hypocritical places. No surprises. But I don't want to gloss over the mission and get right to, okay, what's next? And should he be backing Deli Rodriguez versus bringing in Machado or the opposition leader who Maduro stole the election from in 2024? We'll get into all that. But I do want to take just a beat to appreciate what this administration did, and particularly what our military executed. It's okay to admire the work that was done here, because one thing there is universal agreement on, maybe outside of Havana and Beijing and Tehran, is that Nicolas Maduro was a murderous dictator. He is a terrible human being, and he destroyed that country along with Hugo Chavez, his predecessor. He and Chavez instigated the greatest migration out of a country, sans Syria, at the hands of another bloodthirsty dictator named Assad, in the last 50 years. This is and you're hearing the chorus of voices of actual Venezuelans, even Venezuelans that don't like Trump, with respect to the attempt by the Democrat socialist infrastructure in this country to recast Maduro as some sort of victim in this story, as opposed to another instance of evil incarnate in power in South America. So it's okay to appreciate that somebody who was indicted under the law in this country, along with his wife, and was a fugitive from justice, has been brought to justice. And I'll get to it, but the president was well within his authority and established precedent to initiate the mission that he did, this audacious mission, as General Kane described.
This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters.
And thankfully they didn't have to, because they executed this so brilliantly. I'm sure you've read or listened to some of the accounts as well, too. But, they did a model of the safe house on the military compound that Maduro was residing here and practiced on it. They had a CIA asset that got into or was in Maduro's inner circle that essentially gave him up. I mean, the whole relationship or communication between the administration and his vice president, I'm talking about Maduro's, is a topic for further conversation. But, I mean, just in terms of our military men and women, just, take a moment and doff your cap to the work that was done here. Sean, on the Northwest Side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I was just trying to say that I think it'd be awesome if Trump used a portion of the $50 million reward for Maduro's arrest as a bonus to all the service members that helped capture him and were all involved in getting this guy arrested. That'd be pretty sweet if he did that announcement.
Yeah, that would be. Although I think we're going to need that money to finance all those Somali daycare centers. But that would be the $50 million bounty on Maduro. Of course, that was increased to $25 million in the final days of the Biden administration. For all those leftists now wringing their hands about this audacious action taken by President Trump, this authority he didn't have, this targeting that he's done, and then you go back and you listen to, and we'll get to it, the rhetoric from those on the left when they were in charge. They're saber rattling in the direction of Maduro. They're ratcheting up on Maduro. They were serious about holding Nicolas Maduro to account for his various crimes against humanity in a way that Trump wasn't. Sure. We'll take more of your calls, and we'll delve into this a bit more, particularly the authority and the authority that the president had to justify the actions that he took, as well as get into the what comes next question, which is always complicated. We'll do that at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 48 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A federal jury in Chicago has convicted a man of laundering cash proceeds from a Mexico-based drug trafficking organization. Prosecutors say David Berger of Chicago and other intermediaries booked and paid for privately chartered jets for the organization to transport millions of dollars in drug proceeds into Mexico after the organization transported wholesale quantities of cocaine from Mexico to sell in the U.S. Berger's sentencing is set for May 12th of next year. Although Illinois drivers are now paying less at the pump, a state lawmaker says prices would be even lower if not for the state's high gas taxes. According to AAA, the average price for a gallon of regular gas in Illinois dipped below $3 a gallon on Friday to $2.99. That's down from $3.27 a month ago. Even with the price drop, Illinois remains the most expensive state in the Midwest for motor fuel. This report is a service of Supershore. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Supershore. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but super sure. The seismic shift is coming. Super sure coming soon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Scott Jennings sees the left admitting failure.
Big story in the New York Times. Headline, How Biden Ignored Warnings and Lost Americans' Faith on Immigration and Helped Return Donald Trump to the White House. It's amazing to see even the New York Times admitting the failures of Joe Biden on immigration, even though it's a little too late to do anything about it now.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Too often, cremated remains are kept at home, then forgotten. At Queen of Heaven Cemetery in Hillside, we have your cremation options. Come visit our new cremation garden, see our beautiful granite columbariums, or view our elegant indoor glass front niches. These offer sacred, lasting ways to honor your loved one. If cremation is your choice, our memorialization is a forever option. Give them the dignity of a permanent resting place where they'll be remembered for generations. Visit us today, CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org.
What if 2026 could be the best year ever for your retirement? It can when you take control of your financial future with physical precious metals. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD right now and get your free gold rollover kit valued at $49, yours just for calling. More Americans than ever are discovering the power of rolling over a portion of their IRA or 401k into physical gold and silver. With a simple, tax and penalty-free rollover, you can add stability, security, and strength to your retirement. In times of inflation, uncertainty, or market swings, gold has been a steady, tangible, proven store of value. And in 2026, it could be the key to building the retirement you've always imagined. That's why so many people trust Advantage Gold, the #1 rated gold IRA company in America for 10 years running. Call 800-741-GOLD to get your free gold rollover kit. Call 800-741-GOLD and let 2026 be the year you finally take control. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
Salem News Channel, your go-to source for news and conservative opinion. We reveal how politics hits home, how your family, your freedoms, your way of life are debated, challenged, even regulated. Every day we cut through the noise, pitting nonsense against common sense. On every screen, in every home, Salem News Channel is across America.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect mostly cloudy skies with a high of 40. Tonight will remain mostly cloudy in the evening, later transitioning to low clouds and fog with a low of 36. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions with areas of drizzle and a high of 41. By Wednesday, there will be a mix of clouds followed by sunshine with a high of 42. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here talking about Operation Absolute Resolve that resulted in the capture of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife, who are scheduled to be arraigned in Brooklyn today on various narco trafficking charges. And so the questions and the criticisms that come, a violation of Venezuelan sovereignty, this mission. Trump exceeded his authority, his Article 2 authority as president in initiating this mission without congressional approval. This puts us on the precipice of another endless war or endless occupation of a foreign country. More adventurism that Trump said he was against. We weren't going back to our bad old neocon ways. What comes next? Do we have claim to the $18 trillion worth of oil in that country, Venezuela? All these questions that get conflated when you have the hosts of these Sunday morning talkies trying to score political points on behalf of their benefactors, that would be the Democrat Socialist Party. And so we'll try to bring you some clarity on these matters methodically this morning. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. First of all, again, with respect to sovereignty, you have to understand this wasn't an invasion of a country for the purpose of regime change necessarily, although that's the result, or will be once Maduro and his wife are convicted, because you have two fugitives from justice and obviously an unwillingness to see them extradited to this country to face charges here. And importantly, you have an illegitimate president of Venezuela, not just as recognized by the Trump administration, but as decreed by the Biden administration, as decreed by the European Union, as decreed by some 60 countries after he stole the 2024 election in Venezuela. And this was a point that Marco Rubio in particular was making repeatedly as he toured the Sunday talkies yesterday. And we'll get to the authority going forward to quote unquote run the country and the controversy over President Trump's imprecision when he speaks off script about these geopolitical matters that later was given clarity by Rubio and others.
Why does the United States need to take over the Venezuelan oil industry?
Well, we don't need to. First of all, let me go back up. We don't need Venezuela's oil. We have plenty of oil in the United States. What we're not going to allow is for the oil industry in Venezuela to be controlled by adversaries of the United States. You have to understand, why does China need their oil? Why does Russia need their oil? Why does Iran need their oil? They're not even in this continent. This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors, and rivals of the United States.
Have specific oil companies?
We also want to see that oil and the proceeds from it. Hold on. We want to see the oil proceeds of that country benefit the people of Venezuela. Why have 8 million people left Venezuela? 8 million, the single largest mass migration probably in modern history, left Venezuela in 2014 because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, but not to the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is? The number one fear that Brazil has, that Colombia has, that all these countries in the region have about what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement is they're afraid of another mass migration event. That's what they fear. This is deeply destabilizing stuff. It's not going to continue to happen. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump.
Yeah, the idea of Venezuela being a crossroad, under Maduro being a crossroads for our adversaries in the Eastern Hemisphere, the Russias and the Irans and the Chinas, is a key one. So this isn't about expropriating another country's resources. It's about not allowing our adversaries to come in and harvest them. Trump talked a bit about this, too, that there's obviously some sort of ongoing conversation, maybe even draft plan for U.S. oil companies to come in and rebuild the necessary infrastructure to extract the natural resources that exist in Venezuela for the benefit of the Venezuelan people, as well as potentially American companies, right? If they're going to make the investments, they're going to want to reap some of the benefits, but we're going to essentially, it sounds to me, so long as we get cooperation with what comes next, and we'll get to that, reprivatize what should be the private sector in Venezuela, starting with their most profitable sector within the private sphere, and that would be oil and natural gas, right? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. One more cut from Rubio, and we'll take some of your calls. So that's one on, and we'll get it deeper into the oil discussion, but that's one point that's key here. The other point is in response to the suggestion that this is putting us on the precipice of an endless foreign occupation.
Number one, most of the experts that people have on television, I watch these experts, and it's clown hour. Okay, these are people that have focused their entire career on the Middle East or some other part of the world because that's where all the action was. Very few of them know anything about Venezuela or the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela looks nothing like Libya. It looks nothing like Iraq. It looks nothing like Afghanistan. It looks nothing like the Middle East other than the Iranian agents that are running through there plotting against America. okay? These are Western countries with long traditions among their at a people-to-people and cultural level and ties to the United States. So there's nothing like that. So I think people need to stop ascribing the apples and oranges here, the apples of the Middle East to the oranges of the Western Hemisphere.
But do you...
Number two, this is about the national interest of the United States. And what I'm confident of is we are in a safer and better place because we're taking it seriously. The alternative would have been to leave Maduro there as an indicted the drug trafficker, illegitimate president, running the country, open invitation for all of our adversaries to do whatever they want against the United States from Venezuela. That was not going to continue. The alternative would have been to allow a drug trafficker to continue to use national territory and elements of nation-state power to further drug trafficking organizations. Read the indictment. This guy used the levers of their security apparatus not to arrest drug traffickers, but to cooperate and facilitate the trafficking of drugs for the purpose of getting them into the United States. And that's going to stop.
Right. He was essentially a cartel conspirator, Cartel de las Solas, masquerading as a head of state. And this is the point that U.S. Ambassador to the UN Mike Walls made.
These groups, Tren de Aragua, Cartel de las Soles, these aren't like, our grandfather's mafia. These are more like ISIS and al-Qaeda with state backing. Maduro was a state backer of narco-terrorism. These operatives are some of the most vicious in the world. They're right here in the United States killing Americans, but they have the backing of Venezuela's military and intelligence service, partnered with the Iranians, the Chinese and Russians, and also the Cubans. So enough was enough. Enough with our homeland security being threatened, and the president took that decisive action.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Corey Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, welcome back, Dan. I did want to say Trump runs the risk of being considered the president that could do it all. He took on the globalists, he took on the liberals, and now he's taking on the terrorists. I mean, he's the do-it-all president in my mind. But I wish that he come and snatch up Brendan Johnson as well. This guy's in violation of federal policies as well. Snatch up some of these local mayors and held them accountable for violation of federal law.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Yeah, I agree with that if you can make out a case. If they come anywhere near crossing the line like that Milwaukee judge, then you pop them. I agree. I don't think you can make the case right now, but I would be ever vigilant for the opportunity. Just something about what the authority that Trump has, too. You probably heard this. There were several legal scholars that opined on this, including some that were advising the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. Of course, the left has a very short memory. Well, it's not so short. It's not short. It's just convenient. They forget things they don't want to remember because it would undermine the case they're making at present. So he didn't have the congressional authority to act unilaterally. This is what Pagliacci Schumer had to say on This Week yesterday.
Look, Maduro's a horrible, horrible person, but you don't treat lawlessness with other lawlessness, and that's what's happened here. The American people this morning, George, are scratching their heads in wonderment and in fear of what the president has proposed. The United States will run Venezuela. We have learned through the years when America tries to do regime change and nation building in this way, the American people pay the price in both blood and in dollars.
He says the United States has the authority to do what they're doing.
They do not. They do not.
Why not?
He couldn't even answer your question. There is no authority to go. They did not just do ships off the water. They went inside Venezuela, bombed civilian as well as military places. And it's a violation of the law to do what they did without getting the authorization of Congress.
So what can the Congress do about it is the next question.
So a couple of things. First of all, just, the normal caveat here. Yes, you are hearing somebody who previously supported the authorization of the use of force for the purpose of regime change now decry it. Or just regime change generally. You may remember, he had no problem. Do you remember Chuck Schumer saying anything derogatory about President Obama's 7-month bombing campaign in Syria without congressional authorization? No, you don't. Oh, that was 9/11 extended authorization? Right. Very generous. Very generous back then. Here's the facts. The Constitution gives the president broad leeway on national security, as we know. In addition to that, there is the 1989 example, the precedent, of George H.W. Bush bringing Manuel Noriega in Panama to justice without a vote of Congress. You remember this. He was brought to Miami. He was tried and convicted in Miami. He served prison in the United States before being sent back to Panama, where he served out his days in prison. So that's just untrue. So in terms of the authority to launch the strike in the first place, it's clear he did not need, and this is has been so judged by the courts, clear he did not need authorization to initiate the invasion for the purposes of bringing those two fugitives and others to justice. Secondly, the authority to do what he's doing now, which is not to quote-unquote run, take that literally, Venezuela, but to dictate how this will proceed. There is some authority, again, initiated by court action, and Marco Rubio had the receipts.
And as far as what our legal authority is on the quarantine, I'm very simple. We have court orders. These are sanctioned boats, and we get orders from courts to go after and seize these sanctions. So that's, I don't know, is a court not a legal authority?
So is the United States running Venezuela right now?
Well, I've explained once again, I'll do it one more time. What we are running is the direction that this is going to move moving forward. And that is, we have leverage. This leverage we are using and we intend to use. We started using already. You can see where they are running out of storage capacity. In a few weeks, they're going to have to start pumping oil unless they make changes. And that leverage that we have with the armada of boats that are currently positioned allow us to seize any sanctioned boats coming into or out of Venezuela, loaded with oil or on its way in to pick up oil, and we can pick and choose which ones we go after. We have court orders for each one. That will continue to be in place until the people who have control over the levers of power in that country make changes that are not just in the interest of the people of Venezuela, but are in the interest of the United States and the things that we care about.
So you get it. So we have court orders that legitimize the quarantine that we've put on oil coming in and going out of Venezuela. And as you heard him say, those in charge, Rodriguez, the Maduro VP, has been sworn in as the acting president, although she's doing her pro forma statements about, Nicolas Maduro needs to be returned immediately, while there's some pretty clear indication there was communication between the Trump administration and Ms. Rodriguez. Should Maduro be captured and removed from the country, that if you don't play ball, things will get bad for you and you'll be next. And so President Trump, as you heard at his presser the day after the apprehension, indicated that he thought she was going to play ball, although there were some middling comments he made as well in terms of not wanting a remnant of the Maduro regime, which she is. She was his VP pick, understanding they're bad people, but having some confidence that she's going to do the right thing, at least in the short term. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Me?
Yep, you, Marvin. Go ahead.
Hey, how are you? Good morning. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
I wanted to comment on the outstanding performance of Trump's team to keep everything under wraps for as long as they did. It appears to me he really has the right people in place now versus the first administration that he had with people who were interested in self-aggrandizement and promotion. And I think anybody who, and there are several, who would love to have blown this thing by letting it out in the press that this was being planned and was imminent. I think it's a real good group that they've got, and they're loyal and they're serious people, and they have a lot of integrity to do their jobs properly, and I think it's just awesome.
Thanks for the call, Marvin. Yeah, I agree that it's been impressive. And just getting back to sort of rounding some of this out and the criticism that is coming fast and furious to, the left is trying to get their legs underneath them here and find something that may work, that may resonate with the public in the face of this wildly successful mission to bring this preternaturally evil person to justice in this country. Trying to figure it out. And so no one is groping in the dark more aggressively than, of course, Face the Nation's Margaret Brennan. And Marco Rubio had some fun moments with her, including her pressing him on whether, okay, so you took him into custody 12 hours ago, or 24 hours ago, maybe, by the time that he spoke with her. Is Venezuela a democracy yet?
So it was an illegitimate election, and that's why he's not a legitimate president.
Right, but is there an agreement to transition to democracy?
I think what the president pointed out is the obvious. Well, I think what but there has to be a little realism here, okay? A transition to they've had this regime, they've had this system of Chavismo in place for 15 or 16 years. And everyone's asking why 24 hours after Nicolas Maduro was arrested, there isn't an election scheduled for tomorrow?
No, I'm asking what you talked about with her.
These things take time. There's a process.
Yeah. Could you give us 5 seconds, please? Good stuff. Rubio, really the man of the hour in terms of responding to the D.C. press corps on this. And at the press conference where you had the leadership team assembled, including the president, Rubio had a fun riff, very, very current. I didn't know he was sort of East Coast oriented when it came to his rap music. You'll get it in a second.
Much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
make sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when he tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah, Biggie Rubio. No more little Marco, I'll tell you that. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., Monday through Friday. at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. In a stunning act of moral obtuseness, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors recently created a reparations fund for the city's black community. Just for starters, racial reparations are illegal, barred by California's Proposition 209 and the U.S. Constitution. Both forbid governmental discrimination based on race. But reparations are also morally wrong. It's unjust to take from people who never owned slaves in order to give to those who were never enslaved, especially in a state that never had slavery. Supporters claim reparations will heal historic wounds. They actually deepen them. Once government divides Americans by race and stokes grievance politics, there's no limiting principle. You can't legitimize racial sorting for some groups and not expect it to fuel resentment in others. The answer isn't race-baiting policies like reparations. We're all Americans. It's time our leaders acted like it.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
From the leader in Venezuela to an inmate in New York City. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's where Nicolas Maduro, captured in that U.S. operation Saturday, is jailed, and in 5 hours will be arraigned.
Set to face charges that he ran a multi-billion-dollar drug operation with the Sinaloa and Zeta cartels and others that flooded our country with hundreds of tons of cocaine over 2 decades. He faces 4 counts: narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. His wife, Celia, who was also captured and is in U.S. custody, faces similar charges, as does their son, Nicholas, and other government officials who are also charged.
Fox's Eric Shawn outside that federal court in Manhattan. Congressional leaders will get a briefing today on the operation that captured Maduro. Democrats have called it illegal. President Trump told reporters in Air Force One flying back to the White House, Venezuela's a mess and the U.S. is in charge now.
We're going to just take care of the country. We need total access. We need access to the oil and to other things in their country that allow us to rebuild their country.
Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, is offering cooperation in a statement.
Our peoples and our region deserve peace and dialogue, not war. Rodriguez takes over today, having been told by President Trump she could pay a very big price if she doesn't do what's right. She's offered to collaborate with the United States. Meanwhile, Cuba is mourning the deaths of 32 of its citizens as a result of the U.S. operation in Venezuela. The communist-run country supplied much of Maduro's security detail.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. President Trump also told reporters he thinks Cuba looks ready to fall. And he said this:
We need Greenland from a national security situation.
The president has talked about taking Greenland before, but it's a territory of Denmark. The Danish prime minister says the U.S. has no right to it and should stop the threats. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning, 32 degrees in Chicago and AM 560 The Answer. I'm John Cruz in the newsroom. Mainly cloudy and a high of 41 degrees today. A teenager in custody following a shooting on the south side. Police say a man was in a parking lot last night in the 800 block of East 79th Street when he was approached by a stolen Kia. At least one person got out of the vehicle and fired shots, hitting the man multiple times. That victim in critical condition. Officers later found the stolen Kia in the 8000 block of South Woodlawn. That teen was hospitalized with a gunshot wound to the stomach. The CTA State and Lake Station in Chicago's Loop being closed today for demolition. That part of a $400 million reconstruction project. The 130-year-old stop is one of the Loop's oldest and busiest stations, serving the brown, green, orange, pink, and purple lines. The new station will feature wider platforms, new elevators, a glass canopy, and improved lighting. It's scheduled to open in 2029. Venezuelans in Chicago reacting to the U.S. military action in Venezuela this weekend. The Illinois-Venezuelan Alliance hosting a gathering yesterday at a Northside restaurant to talk about the attack and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Some are celebrating the move, but express concerns about how he was removed. A group that marched in protest in the Loop on Saturday called the actions unconstitutional. The Illinois Department of Human Services revealing a security incident that involved internal planning maps. The IDHS discovered in September that maps created by the Division of Family and Community Services Bureau were publicly viewable due to incorrect privacy settings. IDHS currently sending notices to those affected by the incident. And Caleb Williams, now in the record books for the Bears, the second-year signal caller, threw for 212 yards in yesterday's home loss to the Lions, finishing up nearly 4,000 yards this season. Williams now holds the franchise single-season record for passing yards. Williams surpassed Eric Kramer, who set that record back in 1995. This report is service of the AM560 mobile app. Listen to AM560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile or text the word app to 64636. We're checking roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher stands up to the bullies.
I think this boils down to recognizing the actual evil that we're facing. It is absolute evil to attack Erica Kirk. There's no gray area here. You want to sit around and attack a grieving widow who just months ago lost her husband. You're rotten to the core. Your soul is gone.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month.
Ah, the most beautiful time of year is upon us. Tax season. And TaxSlayer is here to help you file with 100% accuracy for your maximum refund. Guaranteed. TaxSlayer even has support from real U.S.-based humans if you have any questions along the way. File your federal return by February 8th for $22.99, and I'll help you get the refund you deserve. Take it from me, a talking calculator speaking to you through the speakers of wherever you are. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
The new year means new resolutions, not just for your body, but for your finances as well. Did you know that financial health is directly related to your identity protection? This is why you need LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your subscription money back. Resolve to make your identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com and save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. You're off to a great start on the Eden, just 14 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. No slowdowns to tell you about on the Kennedy, inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound is 20. It's 26 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 28. Inbound Stevenson looks great. From the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 16 minutes. Outbound is 15. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 13 minutes. Southbound is 11. A little bit sluggish on the Dan Ryan Express inbound as you make your way towards the Stevenson, and you are slow on the Bishop Ford inbound between 103rd Street and the Dan Ryan. Northbound Lakeshore Drive, a slight tap on the brakes as you head towards Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect mostly cloudy skies with a high of 40. Tonight will remain mostly cloudy in the evening, later transitioning to low clouds and fog with a low of 36. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions with areas of drizzle and a high of 41. By Wednesday, there will be a mix of clouds followed by sunshine with a high of 42. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Welcome back to Morning Answer. Happy to be back in 2026. Happy to have you back. We spent the first hour talking about the capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. They will be arraigned this morning in Brooklyn, New York, on federal narco-trafficking charges. All the geopolitical implications of that. We'll discuss more. Particularly, at the bottom of this 6 o'clock hour, we'll be talking to an old friend and Venezuelan national who has been touring the country, college campuses, for the last 5 years. We caught up with him when he first started 5 years ago. We'll talk to him at the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour, touring the country, talking on college campuses about the evils of socialism. He knows firsthand. We'll get his reaction and, in part, the reaction of so many Venezuelans, whether they like Trump or not, to Nicolas Maduro being taken into custody by this administration. But the other big story over the holidays, even though this has been a decade-long, slow-rolling, possibly $9 billion fraud, and we're just talking about in Minnesota, and the fraud certainly is not limited to Minnesota. The other big story was guerrilla reporter Nick Shirley's little expose outside of Somali daycares, particularly the Quality Learning Center, recently renamed as the Quality Learning Center, even though it's been in operation for 8.5 years. And they're ostensibly helping to socialize and assimilate young people. Took them 8.5 years to learn how to spell learning. But Nick Shirley's expose that generated 130 million views and counting sort of refocused people's attention on this issue of massive Medicaid, essentially, fraud in Minneapolis, Mogadishu, Minnesota. It used to be called Minneapolis. And it got people's propellers spinning to say, I wonder if something like that is happening in my state. This isn't limited to the Somali population, but it certainly includes them. And as we find out, it probably includes them in enclaves they have in Washington State, Seattle specifically, in Boston, in Maine. But we have the same scams being run here. President Trump even acknowledged it on New Year's Eve. What's happening in Minnesota is terrible, but you can bet that in states like Illinois, New York, California, it's even worse because they're bigger states with more cash and more federal state cash combined to funnel into these Medicaid programs that largely operate unchecked and serve as basically a political slush fund for the Democrat socialists in power to create dependency to buy political support. Isn't that what the Somali daycare center story is fundamentally about? I suggest it is. And again, our friend John Hinderaker at Powerline Blog, to their credit, some local network affiliate reporters, News Nation now did some stories on this. The quote-unquote alternative media, as opposed to legacy media, is all over this now. But again, let's say what is true. There were network affiliates, local network affiliates, that's legacy media, that have been raising the specter of large-scale fraud in Minnesota with respect to daycares, and not limited to daycares, because as we talked about before the break, you have multiple layers of scam here. Assisted living facilities, programs for autistic children. Obviously, the huge Feeding Our Future scandal, $250 million worth of fraud there, and dozens of indictments associated with that. By the way, of course, you'll come to find out there is crossover. The scam artists that were behind Feeding Our Future, some of them also dipping their beak in some of these other buckets of taxpayer cash. Remarkable. And it's also interesting to learn how, or Lear, as Quality Learing Center says, how readily identifiable this was. We know this to a large extent because you had that open letter that was sent before the end of the year, we discussed a few weeks back, by upwards of 200 employees in the state of Minnesota's Department of Human Services saying, we saw it. We tried to bring it to the attention of authorities. And effectively, at every turn, whistleblowers were sidelined and people were intimidated into silence. Those nearly 200 state employees put responsibility squarely at the doorstep of one Tampon Tim. You're telling me all those Minnesota state employees are MAGA operatives? The whole Nick Shirley cooked it up, the video is heavily edited, all the usual excuses you hear when hands are caught in cookie jars, they're not going to fly. The only question is what happens now. We do know that FBI is on the ground in Minneapolis now, that the Department of Homeland Security is on the ground in Minneapolis now, that according to HHS payments, the federal support for these state-level programs like the CCAP, Child Care Assistance Program, have been stopped pending the result of federal investigation, since the state was a bit lethargic in trying to root this out. But going back to my point, how knowable this was. This is a source that helped Nick Shirley understand what was happening before he did his site visits and found what he found and broadcast it to the world. Just a local guy, I think he's like a local business owner, who laid it out just by observing and then doing a little bit of investigation when what he observed didn't make sense to him as a concerned taxpayer, as somebody a bit civic-minded.
All this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for are mostly related to child care. This is massive fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a child care not far from here in Minneapolis that has two child cares listed at the same address. And together, they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever, and I've been by that place at least 100 times.
These Somalians, these groups are setting up these daycares, these child care centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them. They're all fraught with violations, and even though they have these violations, they're still in operation and they're still getting money. And it's millions of dollars for every one of them every year.
And who's getting the money? And where are they getting the money from?
So we have a thing called CCAP. It's a blend of federal and state money. The bottom line is it's taxpayer money, so it's state money and it's federal money. And the problem is the people at the state of Minnesota are the ones writing the checks. This is kind of the maddening thing is you have daycare, so you have adult daycare, and then you have child care, and then you have health care. And a lot of these same names keep coming up on all of these different types of businesses. And then, of course, we have the transportation, and a lot of those same names appear, a lot of the same addresses. There's one building that has 14 Somali healthcare companies at the same address. There's another building in St. Paul that has 22 Somali healthcare businesses at the same address.
And the government knows about this?
The government knows. They're writing the checks. Yeah, the Democrats over there just writing the checks. What has happened is that the Somali community is a very closed community. They will not speak to anyone outside the community and talk about what's going on within the community. They vote as a block. And so when you're a politician, you're saying, look, I've got 100,000 people in Minnesota that if I do something for the community, they're going to vote for me. And that's what it's all about, is getting the votes. And then the people here in Minnesota, you hear this term, Minnesota nice. I'm so sick of that term. The people here are so afraid of being called a racist or an Islamophobe, and they're afraid of their own shadow.
So Nick Shirley goes to the Quality Learning Center, now recently renamed the Learning Center, one of these supposed daycares. That's been in operation for, we come to find out, 8.5 years. But there's more to that story, too. Shirley outside that Somali-run daycare center.
Here in Minnesota, massive fraud is taking place within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong, and they said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is there's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. And if you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed and the windows are all blacked out. No one's working. Midday. Children should be in here. And this place is licensed for 99 children. And this is the outside. There's no windows, no nothing. And like I said, they literally spelt the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota. The government is complicit with this, and this is just one of the hundreds of child daycare centers here inside of Minneapolis being ran by the Somali population. It's sad that it's happening here in Minnesota, and it stinks that it's happening and it's being labeled on the Somali population. However, that's just the facts of what's happening here inside of Minnesota. $1.9 million for this daycare center that can't even spell learning right.
Remember what he said there. Midday on a weekday, doors locked, nobody's there, no cars in the parking lot. Just remember that for a second. Quality Learning Center, or Learning Center, was formerly known as the Salama Child Care Center. It was raided by the FBI in 2015 for allegedly defrauding a state program. At some point following the raid, they rebranded into the Quality Learning, or Learning Center. The FBI, according to the local ABC affiliate, the FBI raided the facility, quote, to revoke the child care license of the owner due to alleged safety violations. And yet, a decade later, as of Nick Shirley's report late last month, $1.9 million for the previous year. That just goes on and on and on. The Department of Children head Tiki Brown suggested that no one was at the business in the video, part of which you just heard, because it had closed down last week. Then the same day, the center allegedly, New York Post reporting, trucked in a bunch of kids to prove that they were in business. And yet here's the manager, or one of the managers of the Quality Learning, or Learning Center, responding to the controversy swirling around the center.
As you can see, we're open Mondays through Thursdays, 2 to 10 p.m. He was here earlier. I don't see him right now. So it's like, are you trying to record that we're doing fraud, or are you trying to put the Somali name and the fraud in the same sentence? That's what really hurt us the last couple of days. We're open. We've been open. We haven't closed. We've been open for eight and a half years now. We haven't closed once during that period. So
we've been open for 8.5 years. We haven't closed once during that period, but Nick Shirley is there, and you're closed. The head of the Department of Children in Mogadishu, Minnesota, says they closed last week as the excuse for why Nick Shirley found no kids there and the doors locked and no cars in the parking lot. So which is it? So now you turn on Nick Shirley if you're one of these open borders, pro-fraud, Dem socialists trying to protect this constituency that you're underwriting, this political constituency. Nick Shirley is a Islamophobe, you see. Nick Shirley is a white supremacist. Nick Shirley is a MAGA operative. So just discount everything that he reported and that you saw with your own eyes. Discount, engaging your brain. Don't think, just listen to what I'm saying. Just accept the monikers I am branding Nick Shirley with so that you can walk away from the story altogether. That's, of course, the approach. And many, if not most, on the left will dutifully do that, including in the legacy media. To their credit, sort of accidental credit, CNN didn't. One CNN reporter caught up with Nick Shirley and pressed him on his reporting. But then, when she felt compelled to do her own because she was going to gotcha Nick Shirley, well...
Done enough. I mean, they would say, look, these fraud cases have been going on. But they've already done like 80 indictments. The cases have been going on, for years.
And why did I show up one day in Minnesota and go to all these daycares, no children, they're receiving millions of dollars. We uncovered nearly $110 million in fraud in one day.
How do you know that all the allegations that you're making are true?
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis.
We're coming so we can make our own analysis. Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
CNN is looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
We reached out to several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said they are a legitimate business.
Which was good enough for CNN. Oh, I'm a legitimate business. Okay, great. But they can only get one to even offer that up. You don't have to believe Nick Shirley. As I mentioned at the outset, there are more people on the job now. And again, there have been some people on the job intermittently over the last 10 years. So this isn't about Nick Shirley. This is about the substance of the matter. Rich McHugh is a News Nation reporter. News Nation is a station that features such great conservatives as Chris Cuomo. So you're going to have a hard time pulling the Islamophobe, white supremacist card with Rich McHugh and News Nation, I think. Although, nothing surprises me with the left. Here's a Rich McHugh on his site visits to so-called home healthcare businesses. Another layer.
This building right behind me has 22 different home and community-based healthcare companies registered in the building. It's only 4 floors. I walked in there yesterday trying to find a number of them. Many of them appear to be just window fronts, door fronts, with nobody behind. So same story, different location. We're here in St. Paul at this building, which looks like a warehouse or a dilapidated old building. Inside this building, there are 60 registered home and community health care organizations inside this one building. We're here in Northeast Minneapolis, and we're at a building that I believe is on the radar of authorities. They have questions about it. A lot of the businesses in here are home health care businesses. Of the total businesses, there's 37. 17 of them are home health care businesses.
Boy.
There's just layer upon layer upon layer of fraud throughout this city.
Wow. Thanks, Rich McHugh. Not Nick Shirley. Come on, why aren't they going after Rich McHugh? How dare he may draw such a conclusion? Those are just meccas of home health care operations. These huge buildings concentrated with home health care businesses that turn out to just be what he's essentially indicating, empty storefronts. They were probably just off that day. Rich McHugh investigating assisted living facilities. It's not just daycare. It's not just phony baloney anti-poverty nonprofits like Feeding Our Future. It's not just taking advantage of state programs for autistic kids and, of course, jeopardizing the quality of access to those programs for actual autistic kids. Do you find that a bit sickening? Men and women of the left? Remarkable. It's also assisted living facilities in and around Mogadishu, Minnesota.
This may look like your typical single-family home, but it bills itself as an assisted living facility, and it receives a lot of taxpayer money. Here in Minnesota, the number of people getting help in assisted living facilities is up, double the growth of other programs. But here's the kicker. The rate of payment in this assisted living space is 10 to 15 times the growth in other programs. Hi. So we pulled the data on assisted living facilities in the Minneapolis area. Minneapolis, as you might expect, has a lot, 169. St. Paul, with a population of 307,000, has 83. But Brooklyn Center, 30,000 population, has 106. And Brooklyn Park, population of 84,000, has 181, more than Minneapolis, a city 5 times its size. But this assisted living facility puts this all in perspective. It's owned by a man indicted for laundering $1 million in the Feeding Our Future scam. He's Gandhi Mohammed, now Gandhi Abdi Kadai, and his LLC owns the homes. His wife runs the assisted living facilities, and the state is continuing to pay as he awaits his trial. Okay. We went to each of them.
We're curious because the man who owns this building was indicted in the Feeding Our Future scandal. Did you know that?
No.
Crossover.
Don't know that?
No. You think what?
Do you know the Feeding Our Future scandal? The scam that was, there's all these indictments related to false, billing on feeding children.
No, that's not true.
Well, it is true.
That it's not true?
It's not true. The way I know that, no.
These assisted living facilities received over $2.3 million in state money last year alone. A Minnesota Reformer article says he has been paid a whopping $49 million since 2016.
How is it possible that this person who's been indicted in Feeding Our Future also is still collecting checks from the state, running these assisted living centers with his wife?
I honestly have no idea. It seems like the most basic due diligence would have been to run a check of all the people indicted in Feeding Our Future and then make sure they're not getting paid from other state programs. And at least in this case, and I've heard perhaps in others, they didn't do that.
State Representative Kristen Robbins is the chair of the House Fraud and Oversight Committee here.
So this person owns assisted living facilities, and his wife runs the service provider part of it. So he owns the property. One of the properties was purchased with the same shell company he used to money launder in Feeding Our Future. And now that same shell company has been used to buy a new assisted living facility property. It's unconscionable that they haven't done the most basic due diligence to cross-check that Feeding Our Future defendants aren't getting additional state money.
Yeah, it's also unconscionable, and this is a Republican I'm talking about, that the chairhuman of the House Oversight and Fraud Committee has had nothing to say on this until a News Nation reporter came knocking, even though this has been a decade-long saga. And part of the story in Minnesota, and you'll find that in other states too, is Republicans being complicit in this, not wanting to take up these fights either. By the way, some of those suburbs that have more assisted living facilities, 5 times more than the big metropolitan areas like Minneapolis and St. Paul. I mean, they have huge Somali populations. They have Somali elected officials in places like that were mentioned, like Brooklyn Center, St. Louis Park, which is a suburb as well. That Nadia Mohammed, she's a Somali, Somali extraction. She's the mayor there. She's basically a junior league Ilhan Omar. We've played comments from her before that are along the lines of what you would hear from an Ilhan Omar, or a Jacob Fry, or a Tim Walz for that matter. So many layers to peel back here. We'll be doing it more this morning. John in Portage Park.
Yeah, welcome back. Tim Walz is supposed to give a news conference sometime this morning or this afternoon, I forget. And I'm wondering if you might think that he might just give up, resign.
I doubt it. Thanks for the call. I can't imagine, particularly if he's a target of a federal investigation, which I suspect he is. Remember, if you're the target of a criminal investigation, one of the things you can use as leverage if the heat gets too much is to say, okay, I'll step down from office as part of basically a way to extract yourself or minimize potential legal exposure. So I don't think he is going to give up his office unless he thinks his indictment is imminent, which perhaps it should be. I don't know. I don't have enough of the evidence, but there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that suggests some very difficult questions of Tim Walz need to be answered. And all communications from Tim Walz to state officials about these programs need to be called together and reviewed. I know that. Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Hi, Dan. It's been a long 2 weeks without you. I'm really glad you're back, and
Thank you.
Thanks for your analysis of what went on with Maduro. I missed the whole thing because I was dealing with a family situation, and I told you before, during the pandemic, I worked as a nanny, and I met a lot of these girls who do this for a living for cash, and one of them collects, welfare. She's been on it her whole life. She doesn't feel embarrassed about it. Her mother does the same thing. They work for cash. They milk the system, and grossed up, these people are making $65,000 a year, plus their benefits from the state. So the people who really need the benefits, like people like my sister-in-law, who's a widow, who had a stroke, who has an SSDI now, and children are getting a death benefit for Social Security. She makes too much money collecting Social Security to qualify for a link card.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Mary Kay. We're going to talk in the 8 o'clock hour with Alex Berenson about this, because the larger picture is the welfare state generally and all the benefits that are conferred, state, federal, the combination of federal and state, and the open fields for fraud and corruption that have been created by a combination of the federal government and state governments. That's the larger conversation. Going back to, are these things the federal government or the federal state program should be involved in doing in the first place? Because as we find out again and again, these massive transfer payment programs have essentially all the oversight and all the competence of your COVID relief funds that were drop shipped all over the place during the pandemic. Coming up at 6:36, we'll return to the matter of Venezuela and the reactions to Maduro's extraction. Andres Gilarte has been touring college campuses for the past 5 years. He's a Venezuelan national, warning young people of the evils and ravages of socialism, using his home country as an example. We'll get his reaction and hear more reaction from the hoi polloi across the spectrum at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. 32 degrees in Chicago and AM 560. The Answer will stay cloudy and a high around 41 today. Overnight, President Trump reaffirming the U.S. is in control of Venezuela after the raid that led to the capture of Nicolas Maduro.
We have a change of leaders in Venezuela,
but not a change in regimes.
That is retired Army Lieutenant General Doug Flute. Nicolas Maduro is accused of leading a 25-year-long terror and drugs campaign. Trump also said the U.S. will keep much of the oil in Venezuela. Across the state, parts of Douglas County under a boil order. The villages of Atwood and Garrett went under the boil order yesterday morning after a pump failure at a treatment plant. Now, Atwood officials said samples need to be collected due to the system dropping under 20 psi. The boil order in effect until further notice. And police in DuPage County looking for 2 burglary suspects along I-355 in Downers Grove early this morning. Elmhurst police were pursuing those suspects around 2 o'clock. 4 suspects were taken into custody, but 2 others fled on foot and were last seen running off the ramp from Maple Avenue. If you've seen any activity in the area, you're asked to call 911. This report is service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. We're checking traffic coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees the left admitting failure.
Big story in the New York Times. Headline, How Biden Ignored Warnings and Lost Americans' Faith on Immigration and Helped Return Donald Trump to the White House. It's amazing to see even the New York Times admitting the failures of Joe Biden on immigration, even though it's a little too late to do anything about it now.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Did you know that most remodeling problems start before construction begins? Unclear plans, uncertain timelines, unexpected costs. At Forever Remodeling, every kitchen, bathroom, and basement remodel starts with smart planning, clear project details, 3D design previews, and accurate upfront pricing before you commit to the project. With Forever Remodeling, there is no stress, no guesswork, no surprises. Ready to remodel? Start with a smart plan today by visiting foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-682-3311. That's 800-682-3311. 800-682-3311.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Start the new year off on a healthier note by taking active liver supplements from New Nordic every day. Available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com or at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery, or Wegmans.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Stop and go on the Dan Ryan inbound between 95th Street and 87th Street with an accident taking down 2 lanes. Right now, it is 16 minutes to the Byrne interchange. Outbound still looks good at 11. The express lanes slow down from 33rd Street to the Stevenson inbound. Very slow on the Bishop Ford inbound between 103rd and the Dan Ryan. And I-57 slows down inbound between Halstead Street and the Dan Ryan. Now, the Stevenson looks good. 16 minutes both both ways from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. The Eisenhower is 27 minutes inbound from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 28. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 18 minutes. Outbound is 20. This report is sponsored by Capital One. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase with the Capital One Venture X business card. Big purchasing power means you can spend more and earn more. The Capital One Venture X business card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 40. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies in the evening, later followed by low clouds and fog. The low will be around 36. Tomorrow, anticipate mostly cloudy conditions with areas of drizzle and a high temperature of 41. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, reactions coming in fast and furious from actual Venezuelans the world over. We saw a massive rally in Buenos Aires where there are a lot of Venezuelan expats. We saw and heard, actually got some reporting on a rally held in Miami where there are also a lot of Venezuelans, both expats and Venezuelan Americans. Fox News reporting.
Here right now, people are slowly starting to arrive to attend this rally. We have seen many families, some of them with their small children, wearing their colors, the traditional colors, red, yellow, and blue. Many of them carrying the Venezuelan flag. Moments ago, we also heard some chants. They were shouting, "Libertad, libertad," freedom, freedom.
Freedom, freedom, yeah. Meanwhile, outside the MDC in Brooklyn, where Maduro and his wife are being held, of course, you have the professional grievance makers, the professional protesters that were shipped in by the Democrat Socialist America and other Marxist political infrastructure groups in this country. We'll get to the details there. But I thought it'd be more interesting to hear from those that are celebrating Maduro's arrest and removal from Venezuela. Some insightful commentary, including from people who don't like Trump.
I'm a Venezuelan that lives in the United States and is a Democrat. Why are you guys on Venezuelans right now? You guys are just being so rude. Like, do you know how many deaths this man has, how much blood he has on his hands? And yeah, it was Trump. He got him. Am I super happy it was him? No. But you gotta give credit where credit is due. Like, he did what no one thought. I never thought I would live to see this. Ever. Like, I'm in shock. And it makes me sad that you guys are just like saying he was a sovereign president. He wasn't. He was a dictator. He was a dictator. Why don't you take this energy to see who he really was and then come back with your opinions? Like, just let us have this moment.
Venezuelan journalist, media type, Germania Rodriguez Polio.
Now a message to my English-speaking friends, because I'm already seeing people are organizing protests, hands off Venezuela, let's defend Maduro, we love dictators. Do not, for a moment, let your hatred and disdain for Donald Trump, an unsavory character, have you defending the dictator of my country that was destroyed by him and Chavez and their system 20 years ago. We Venezuelans are very, very happy that our dictator has been arrested, removed, and will be put through a trial. It's the first time we're seeing justice in 26 years. Now let's hope that they get the rest of the criminals out of Venezuela, and then we can return home.
And one more. This was perhaps the most thoughtful commentary. It tackled a lot of the subtextual issues. I'll just play a piece of it. But the gentleman's name is Rafael de la Fuente, and he just offered some perspective on the scale of the Marxist disaster that was imposed by the dictators that the Venezuelan people elevated, sorry to say.
Okay. As a Venezuelan American, I got some to say. My family, my parents, my sister, my extended family, all lost everything. Their work, their savings, their investments, gone. Wiped out by a narco-dictatorship that has held Venezuela in a death grip for over 25 years. And what happened to my family has happened to millions, and yes, millions. The Venezuelan exodus is the second largest displacement crisis on earth after Syria. This is not just a tragedy. It is one of the great humanitarian disasters of our time. But the suffering...
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by someone we spoke with 5 years ago when he and a colleague began touring college campuses to warn young people of the evils of socialism, despite it being sanitized for popular consumption among the ill-informed by people like Comrade Bernie and AOC and these other detestable figures in this country. Andreas Gilarte is the Vice President of Opinion Research at Eyes Over Technologies. He is also a Venezuelan exile. Andreas, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you for having me.
So tell us how you felt when you heard the news that Maduro and his wife had been captured and were en route to the United States to face justice.
Well, it was a shocking moment. First of all, I didn't believe it. Right, I was doing something, and one of my best friends was around, and he was telling me, "Hey, they're bombing Caracas," and it was like I didn't pay attention. I just missed the comment because it's an ongoing kind of joke or expectation, wishful thinking for Venezuelans for many, many, many years. Like, oh, the gringos are coming, the SEALs are going to arrive, and there's going to be a bomb. So, and it actually happened. So it took him like 5 times to tell me when I actually took my phone and I started seeing that everyone was sending videos, everyone sending, all the videos that everyone saw, the missiles happening in Caracas, the bombing, the helicopters, and it was real. So even to this moment, I mean, it's only been like 3 days, but we still feel like this is not real. We're talking about a 26-year dictatorship that is still not over because the same regime infrastructure is there, but the dictator is gone. So that's a step towards freedom that just happened 3 days ago, and we're still processing it.
Yeah, and I mean, just the good news at minimum is that you won't have to endure the embarrassment of Nicolas Maduro dancing to Bobby McFerrin's "Don't Worry, Be Happy" at these phony rallies that he was hosting over the last several months, which apparently, according to some New York Times reporting, which I discount, of course, those ridiculous events that he had, in part, a small part, but in part said, this guy is a buffoon. He is not going to listen to reason, and we need to go get him.
Well, I mean, when you're Venezuelan, you understand that didn't happen right now. He's like one of the memes, of Venezuela. We're talking about 13 years of him saying the stupidest things that you can imagine. Mm-hmm. From all over. There's videos of him dancing. There's videos of him saying stupid things. There's many, many, many records of him being like that. But we always thought that you can be the dictator of a country for 13 years and be stupid. We always thought that he was playing a role. So if that was one of the reasons that they thought it was good enough to go in because he was not going to change your mind, absolutely, go ahead and do it. But it's not to be mistaken that you are a dictator and you're stupid. You can be both.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Yes, and the thing, I just wonder how you would describe the arc of your work on college campuses from when you arrived here some 5 years ago, and you and as I mentioned, the colleague we spoke with back then, your colleague we spoke with, started talking on college campuses. What is the arc of people's understanding of the ravages of socialism in Venezuela in particular, but just generally speaking? Because, of course, the irony is this extraction of Maduro happens just a couple days after the inauguration of Zoran Mamdani, a proud and avowed socialist, to be the mayor of New York City. So I just wonder how you feel it's going in terms of imparting wisdom on those skulls full of mush that you were trying to explain things to as you made your way on college campuses around the country. Where do we stand 5 years into this, even with Maduro being removed?
Unfortunately, we don't start in a good place. And I may say that I don't think that it's a product of us not doing enough. It's just a product of human behavior, human nature. People don't understand from third-party experiences. You may be seeing your neighbor house on fire across the street, and you may end up doing the same mistake yourself. So we did a lot. And me and my colleague Jorge, between the two of us combined, we visit every country in the state except for Alaska and Hawaii. I personally traveled to 40 states in the country. I did over 100 presentations in colleges, communities, restaurants, talking to everyone that we could. And still, we just had, like you mentioned, now we have a mayor, socialist mayor in the biggest city in the world. And that's a problem. That's a problem because we're seeing a growth of people liking socialism. And the reason they're liking socialism is not really because they're committed socialists. We're not talking that there's millions of people in the U.S. that they read Lenin and they follow the steps of Che Guevara. It's because they're seeing that there's failures in the U.S. system that they feel that they have to go to the absolute opposite alternative, which in this case for capitalism is socialism. And when you combine that with a highly charismatic character like it is Zoran Mamdani, then you have what happened in New York City. And I'm afraid we might be seeing that in other places. We also elected a socialist mayor in Seattle, for example, which is not a big surprise. It's Seattle. But I'm afraid that may come in other places around the country. And the reason that is not because people they don't read a book or because they don't understand what socialism is. It's because they just don't care about history. And that's a sad thing to say, but you can't be expecting people, and that's something I understood then, is that it doesn't matter how much I just go around and saying, well, this happened in Venezuela, it happened in Cuba, it happened in China, it happened in Germany, it happened everywhere. People still are not going to understand unless they live it. And I hope that New York City is going to go for better. I just moved next to New York City, unfortunately. But I hope people are going to see the example of bad policies here in the U.S. in New York City. And hopefully they don't see that everywhere else. But one last comment on that. We also have San Francisco and L.A. as example of socialism. And still people didn't understood and went ahead and elected that in New York City.
And Chicago and Baltimore, and I can name another half a dozen cities in this country, major cities in this country, unfortunately. But, the ironic thing, it seems to me, is, and it was brought home to me again with the reaction of one Venezuelan family that was celebrating this. They have a young boy. They were crying, so happy that Maduro was gone, talking about essentially the ability of their young son to meet his grandparents. They were going to go back. And one of the things he said is, like, we need to learn to be better brothers and sisters to one another. That was one of essentially his saying, one of the reasons that this happened in Venezuela is because we weren't really our brother's keeper. And of course, you heard in his inauguration speech the incoming mayor Mamdani talking about discarding the frigid, rugged individualism for the warmth of collectivism. And in point of, that's the big lie, one of the big lies they tell, but it's a huge one, that this is about caring for one another. This is what socialism provides. And it actually doesn't. It atomizes people. So exactly what you just said, we don't care enough about our neighbor. It doesn't matter what happens to our neighbor as long as it doesn't happen to me, and I'll be the most surprised person when eventually they come around to me. And that's what you see happen over and over again, is the isolation, the diminution of the individual. And it's 180 degrees from what they promise. The warmth of collectivism, it's actually the frigidity of collectivism.
Totally. And we just, things don't happen for a coincidence. God has a plan for everything, and you just saw it. At the same, just a matter of a couple days, the same guy that went on in his inauguration to say what you just mentioned, the warmth of collectivism and going against individualism. 2 days later, we have one of the main characters of that warmth of collectivism in Venezuela in the form of socialism being captured, and then you see millions of people around the world and inside Venezuela being happy because that warmth of socialism is over. So that's where you're seeing that collectivism has only brought damnation and catastrophic elements to every single part of society, everyone that has been tried. And having someone so young like Trump going around saying that that's what they want to try in the heart of capitalism that is New York City for the world, it is really sad to see. One of the things that I have hope here is that municipal socialism is not going to be implemented as fast and furious as it was national socialism in Venezuela. We're talking about a country that has all the resources and the control of the military and everything, as different than in New York City, the limitations that Mandani has. So I'm hopeful that if he's not going to be able to implement all the agenda that he wants to implement, and that's good for New York City, but still he's going to have a lot of power to do a lot of that. We just saw it. He just said one of the things, Dan, just to finish that, he said that Subway rides were going to be free, and they just implemented a $3 increase, and basically that's a flat fee every time. Yeah, just yesterday I had to pay like $20 just going into the subway at different times, and that's something that he said, and that's what socialists do. They tell you something is going to happen, and then they go ahead and do the absolutely opposite.
Quickly before we have to go, are you going to go back at all, and do you think you'll see a lot of Venezuelans repatriate, or are they going to wait and see what happens?
We're talking about over 8 million Venezuelans that left the country. That's 8 million stories, 8 million situations, if they're going to go back or not, and I'm included in that package. What I'm going to, I have no idea, because we also don't know when this is going to happen. We're talking that Venezuela still has only 2 people left the country. The whole system's still there, the whole apparatus. So we still expect data. We have to see how Delcy Rodriguez, the new president, interim president, she's going to behave with the U.S., what is going to happen, how is the whole U.S. going to manage the country, what is going to happen. But yes, we're going to see millions of people going back. I have no doubt about that. And that's going to help Venezuela, absolutely.
Andres Guilarte, Vice President of Opinion Research at Eyes Over Tech and a Venezuelan exile. Thank you so much, Andres. Appreciate it. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
He just got a helicopter ride in New York City. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife, both flown from their jail cells in Brooklyn to where they'll be arraigned today.
In federal court here in Lower Manhattan to answer to charges including narco-terrorism and conspiracy to import cocaine. His wife, Celia Flores, is also due in court on the cocaine conspiracy charge. Both were captured early Saturday during a U.S. military raid in Caracas before being brought to New York City. Maduro's lawyers are expected to contest the legality of his arrest. They're expected to argue that he is immune from prosecution as a sovereign head of state.
That's Fox's Tanya J. Powers outside the courthouse. Congressional leaders will get a briefing later today from the Secretaries of War and State and others on that military operation that captured Maduro. Many Democrats have called it illegal, but not Senator John Fetterman.
It's positive, and I can't just condemn it just because I happen to be a Democrat.
Fetterman also just told Fox,
I think it was appropriate and surgical. This wasn't a war.
President Trump's calling Venezuela a mess, telling reporters on Air Force One,
don't ask me who's in charge because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
If we're in charge.
Maduro's VP is now the acting president in Venezuela. Fox's Aisha Hasni reports from the White House.
Delcy Rodriguez is cooperating with U.S. officials. The president made those comments on his way back to the White House late last night from Mar-a-Lago, and he added what would happen to Rodriguez if she did not cooperate.
I just say that she will face a situation probably worse than Maduro.
So there's been some criticism from Venezuelan activists in the community that allowing Maduro's former VP, Rodriguez, to take power is not change at all.
President Trump also told reporters he thinks Cuba looks like it's ready to fall, and he again said the U.S. needs to take control of Greenland for national security. It's a territory of Denmark. The Danish Prime Minister reacted, saying, "Stop the threats." America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning, 21 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm John Cruz in the AlmostFreeTeeth.com newsroom. Partly cloudy but chilly, highs getting up to the mid-20s. An investigation continues after a deadly hit and run in South Suburban Riverdale. Police say 72-year-old Harriet Reynolds was hit by a vehicle Wednesday night while walking out of an HP gas station along South Indiana Avenue. The driver fled the scene. No arrests have been made, but authorities have identified the suspect and the vehicle involved. 2 people without a home after a New Year's Eve fire in Marengo. The house fire broke out Wednesday night in the 7,000 block of Paulson Drive. The blaze was brought under control in about 30 minutes, but the home was destroyed. 2 adults inside the house, no injuries reported. The cause of the fire still under investigation. A teen is dead, a man in serious condition after gunfire erupted during an attempted robbery in suburban Cicero. Police say the 2 teens met on Wednesday in the 1300 block of South 58th Avenue for a sale that was arranged online. That sale did not take place, but as the seller walked away, a third teen tried to steal the item. The 2 were struggling when a relative got out of a nearby car. The teen who tried to take the item shot the man who returned fire, hitting the robber. The suspected robber, who was 16, was pronounced dead at the hospital. The seller's relative remains hospitalized. Danville police are sounding the alarm about 2 people attempting to commit motor vehicle thefts. The suspects are targeting Kia and Hyundai vehicles model years 2010 to 2022. The suspects are armed and they have fired a firearm towards victims who attempted to intervene. The pair should be considered extremely dangerous. And Illinois kicker David Olano leaving the program. The Naperville native announcing on social media he's entering the transfer portal. The announcement comes less than 48 hours after he kicked the game-winning field goal in the victory over Tennessee in the Music City Bowl. During his time with Illinois, Olano was a 2-time All-Big Ten honorable mention. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. We're checking traffic coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher stands up to the bullies.
I think this boils down to recognizing the actual evil that we're facing. It is absolute evil to attack Erica Kirk. There's no gray area here. You want to sit around and attack a grieving widow who just months ago lost her husband. You're rotten to the core. Your soul is gone.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Don't risk losing the news, sports, and weather that AM radio delivers. When cell and internet service fail, AM is your lifeline. With time running out, your voice matters. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress vote yes on the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We're shut down on Lakeshore Drive on the northbound side just before Hayes Drive, all because of a collision. It's at least a 30-minute delay. You want to avoid this altogether and stick with the Dan Ryan. The Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 18 minutes. Outbound is 12. You do have delays on the Bishop Ford northbound between 103rd Street and the Dan Ryan. The Stevenson is 22 minutes inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 16. You've got 32 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 31. You are slow on the Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. 20 minutes. Outbound is 22. This report is a service of AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile or text the word APP to 64636. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 40. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies in the evening, later followed by low clouds and fog. The low will be around 36. Tomorrow, anticipate mostly cloudy conditions with areas of drizzle and a high temperature of 41. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We'll let our next guest, Stephen Bucci, discuss the planning and the execution of Operation Absolute Resolve. We talked about it a bit early in the program, played clips from General Dan Kane, who was quite able, about those details, the prep and the operation, and I gave my reviews, but we'll hear a professional one from Stephen Bucci shortly. I want to get right into the geopolitics of this and what's next. Elliot Abrams, not to be confused with Dan Abrams. Elliot Abrams was a former special envoy for Trump for both Venezuela and Iran. And the question of what comes next, because what comes next right now is Delcy Rodriguez, Maduro's vice president, and Elliot Abrams doesn't believe that should come next.
The worst thing that we could do, and we may be doing it actually, is to make some kind of deal with the regime's remnants, with the vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, and leave her and the regime in place, except for maybe a change on oil policy. That's conceivable, but that's not our running Venezuela. That's the Maduro regime running Venezuela without Maduro.
Yeah, and he went on to say, as other people have argued, that first of all, the United States should demand the expulsion of Cuban and Iranian delegates from the country. In addition to that, back the opposition leader who, quote unquote, lost the election in 24, Edmundo Gonzalez, and also, some additional consideration for Maria Corina Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, who Trump was sort of down on, even though he said she's a nice lady, but doesn't have the respect, meaning, I believe, translating the popular support to take over the country. So however the opposition party, those Maduro dissidents, want to play it, you want to support leaders that will have popular support and act in the direction of Malay, as it were, act in the direction of free minds and free markets and a good relationship with the United States. Abrams also, on the issue of oil, but I think Trump made this clear too, said this isn't our oil to seize, it's their natural resources. But if we're going to have U.S. companies come in with the agreement of the regime in Caracas and rebuild the infrastructure necessary to maximize that natural resource for the benefit of the Venezuelan people, then of course you're going to have private companies that expect a return on their investment, which is understandable. And I think that's effectively what Trump was saying as to the oil issue. Something else, though, and the issue of expelling Cuban and Iranian delegates from the country. Trump and Rubio on Cuba, because the Castro descendant that is now the dictator of Cuba had a very important role that maybe is underappreciated, not as understood as it needs to be, in propping up Maduro. Take a listen to Trump and Rubio doing a bit of a tag team on Cuba.
We'll end up talking about, because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation, and we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. Suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
Mr. President. The answer is yes.
Mr. President.
So Cuban dictator Diaz-Canel should be starting to mind his P's and Q's or making plans to transition. That was some of the indication. Also, for the rest of the region, particularly those that are decrying this extraction of Maduro and that were effectively in liege with him and have taken hostile positions to the United States. Petro in Colombia in particular, the president had this to say.
Well, he has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And, yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
So he has to watch it. He has to watch his ass. And Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, she's a nice lady, but...
Well, it wasn't meant to be, and we're very friendly with her. She's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico. She's not running Mexico. The cartels are running Mexico. And we could be politically correct and be nice and say, oh, yes, she is. No, she's very, she's very frightened of the cartels. They're running Mexico. And I've asked her numerous times, would you like us to take out the cartels? No, Mr. President. No, please. So we have to do something because we lost. The real number is 300,000 people, in my opinion. You know, they like to say 100,000. 100,000 is a lot of people, but the real number is 300,000 people. And we lost it to drugs, and they come in through the southern border, mostly the southern border. Plenty come in through Canada, too, by the way, in case you don't know. But they come in through the southern border, and something's going to have to be done with Mexico.
So Petro in Colombia needs to watch his ass. Something is going to need to be done in Mexico. And Venezuela needs to decolonize itself from Cuba. Sounds like we're not done in the region by a long stretch. Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, Happy New Year to you. Thank you, and I'm glad to be back on the show.
Glad to have you back, particularly considering the eventful weekend. Let's start with what comes next, and going back to what Elliot Abrams said, that Delcy Rodriguez, who Trump sort of described in contradictory terms. On the one hand, there are a lot of bad people still there, the remnants of the Maduro regime that he doesn't want to deal with, that he doesn't want to stay. But on the other hand, he's not high on Machado and thinks that Delcy Rodriguez is going to do what the administration wants her to do. How does this shake out for you?
Well, we don't know what sort of conversation Secretary Rubio has had with Rodriguez. She may be saying, look, I've got to say, this is terrible. You guys were mean to us. But let's work a deal here. I mean, that's likely what's going to happen. She's trying to protect her nether parts as well.
Yes.
From local threats, not from American threats. But, I think the world would be happier if we had somebody else, either the guy who got ripped off on the presidency, on the election, or Mrs. Machado. I'm not sure why the president thinks she doesn't have the chops to take over. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in internal Venezuelan politics, but look, this was the right thing to do. It's absurd that the people that are protesting against it on the American left, we expected the Chinese, the Iranians, and the Cubans to be upset. We didn't think our own people who had been cheering, demanding that Maduro be taken out, now when it's happened, all of a sudden they got a problem with it. But super operation, unbelievably well executed, and the fact that there were no leaks is kind of like astronomically phenomenal. But you're right. The long pole in the tent now is how do we orchestrate the rest of the regime change so that we get a regime that is a good partner and player on the international field. That's not a guarantee that we can pull that off. We got, I think by the time we talk next week, we'll know whether we've got a shot at this or not. Today, it's still kind of up in the air. Everybody, the smoke's still clearing, literally and figuratively. And we may just need to be a bit patient to see which way our administration is going to drive this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just in terms of the caterwauling from the left on this, I mean, it was a lot of tough. This is the difference between Trump and them, and frankly, a lot of Republicans too. When Trump suggested that he had second thoughts about his decision to recognize Juan Guaido as the legitimate leader of Venezuela, and he was open to meeting with Maduro, this was in June of 2020. Biden posted this on X. Trump talks tough on Venezuela, but admires thugs and dictators like Nicolas Maduro. As president, I will stand with the Venezuelan people and for democracy. Don't tell me how that ended, Stephen. Pete Butt, Mayor Pete said basically the same thing. I stand with the people of Venezuela, and I recognize Juan Guaido, or 2024. I recognize Edmundo Gonzalez, and I stand with the people of Venezuela. I'm not going to do anything about it, but I stand with them. And this is the difference, and Marco Rubio made that point in no uncertain terms at the press conference the day after the incursion, that this is the difference between Trump and these feckless politicians that like to post on social media and backslap themselves versus somebody who does something and he's willing to suffer the slings and arrows, mainly from the left to do, or even from the right to do so. And something Tom Cotton said too, I wanted you to comment on Face the Nation, because we're endless war and this is going to be a quagmire, and we've learned nothing from the people who actually promoted endless wars and quagmires and open-ended occupation. If you actually look at what Trump has done in Iran, in Syria, here, this is surgical strikes, a specific mission. Once that mission is complete, we move from that mission to a secondary phase. Or that mission is complete, and that's all we intended to do, bring fugitives to justice. And then those countries, Iran, Syria, Venezuela, have to chart their own courses.
Yeah, look, President Trump has been masterful at what he engages with, how he does it, when he stops. And in some cases, it throws people because, well, he's not following through. Well, look, his job is to pursue the interests of the United States of America. And if taking action in a certain place that's too involved or too many people, that's not in our interest. And Trump recognizes that. He also has the courage to say, no, we're not going to do anymore. I'm not going to be captured by what we've done in the past. I'm going to do what's right today. And he's shown over and over an ability to do that and not get entangled in the long term. But he realizes, this one's closer to home. It's our hemisphere. That the decoupling of Venezuela from China and Iran and Cuba is probably the biggest benefit out of this whole thing. I mean, great. It's great for the Venezuelan people that Maduro's gone, and if we can get rid of a few more thugs, that'll be even better. But letting those enemy states know they cannot have an operating base in our hemisphere is huge. So,
right, the Donroe Doctrine, or the Donroe Document, I guess you said, as it's called now, but instead of the Monroe Doctrine. But the other thing too is those other bad actors in our region that were still providing safe haven and taking, essentially happy to act as a surrogate for our adversaries in the Eastern Hemisphere, as he mentioned, from Petro to Sheinbaum to Canal, they have to be a little uneasy today, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I had a big discussion with my son, who's another former military officer, about the levels of messaging that are embedded in this operation.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really, not just four-dimensional. There's a bunch of different layers here of messaging to lots of different people, all using this same operation. And I tell you, those folks ought to pay attention, because President Trump is not fooling around. He is not a cosmetic president. He is an action president, and people may dislike him. And, Mondami and AOC were not consulted beforehand. How could the president do this? Well, one of them's a week-old mayor, and the other one is a junior congresswoman. No offense, they are not players on the international stage. And no, he's not going to consult them before he does things. So maybe the messaging there is good too. Hopefully those two will realize where they really stand in the world and not the overinflated view of themselves they seem to have.
The message it sends to Putin vis-a-vis Ukraine, since there were more meetings over the holidays, Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago. Do you think this in any way impacts Putin's thinking in terms of trying to make a deal. And is Zelensky moving in the right direction, talking about things like a referendum, national referendum on Trump's proposed peace plan?
I think the messaging is positive. I see no downside in its effect on Russia. I can't believe Putin is happy about it. He just lost a big connection in the Western Hemisphere, and a friend here that he could use as a base of operations, at least for his more clandestine operations. And I think that Zelensky is moving in a direction. I think he realizes he's got to move, and that's going to put more pressure on Putin to give a little bit as well. It's a little tough for him to keep lying and say, well, this is all Zelensky's fault. I'm willing to make a deal, but this guy's a bad guy. When, this is like the Israelis with the Palestinians. They give them land, and the Palestinians always say no. The rest of the world, even the people who are supporting Putin, are beginning to see, he's kind of full of crap. And I think this will add to that effect and hopefully move the ball in the right direction.
One other matter before I let you go, I just didn't want to have it lost during the holidays. The surgical bombings in Nigeria in response to the genocide that's being committed against Christians there, that's I think that speaks to Trump. And tell me if you agree. I think that speaks to Trump's serious commitment to the preservation of life. And I know he doesn't come across as ideological, but every time he talks about war, including the war in Eastern Europe, he always mentions the grotesque loss of life, all the unrealized promise, hundreds of thousands of dead young Ukrainian men and Russian men, for that matter, compelled into service by the dictator Putin. The same thing with the mass migration out of Venezuela and the political prisoners and the people who Maduro had killed for saying the wrong thing or believing the wrong thing. It seems to me that he wanted to send a message about the United States being a beacon for people to express themselves, to have freedom of conscience, and he wants to be, frankly, a vehicle to end the prosecution of people for their religious or political beliefs the world over, to the extent that's possible.
Yeah, look, President Trump is for sure a capitalist, right? He loves business. He wants to see business flourish. But he also knows if you don't have basic freedoms and safety, that those things can't happen. You can't have capitalism that works like the Chinese are trying to do. They can work for a while, but it's going to collapse. President Trump really does believe in those fundamental rights of humans, not just Americans, but people across the world. And he's willing to take certain steps to help people protect those things. He is not cavalier about that, even though the left tries to paint him that way. He really does care about people. And he's willing to take action in certain situations, not in all of them, but in certain situations, he will take action to protect those basic rights around the world. And people need to understand he is not the one-dimensional cartoon character that the left tries to paint him. He's a pretty complex guy, and once you get your head away from Orange Man bad, you should be able to see that. But the left doesn't seem to be able to take that first step, so I don't know if they'll ever change.
Doubtful. Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer, top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to talking to you next time.
As do I. Stephen Bucci joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it cripples your life. I know this because I've seen it with people I care about. If joint pain is holding you back, start the new year by doing something different. There's a way to get real relief without surgery and without putting your life on pause. But you have to take that first step and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. They provide regenerative treatments that help your body repair the areas that are causing pain. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. Achy knees, hips, shoulders, wherever it hurts, instead of facing surgery that sidelines you for months, QC Kinetics treatments happen in the office. Simple procedures that deliver big, life-changing results. January is supposed to be your clean slate month, so make it one. Stop managing the pain and start solving it. Call now to learn more and tell them Dan Proft, that's me, sent you when you do. The number 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics to start the year right. 312-827-6261.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, we return to the Somali Daycare Center and other associated frauds with an observation from a young Brazilian woman about the Brazilian way, the larger implications of the fraud that is being revealed in Minnesota and elsewhere. 7:37, now we check the headlines.
Good morning, 32 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm John Cruz. A mild day ahead, highs in the mid-40s under clouds. Jury selection begins today in the trial of a former Uvalde, Texas school district police officer. His actions on the day of a mass shooting that killed 21 people will be under a microscope. Adrian Gonzalez charged with placing more than 24 kids in imminent danger by failing to take action during the mass shootings at Robb Elementary School in 2022. A teen is in custody after a shooting on Chicago's South Side. Police say a man in a parking lot last night when he was approached by a stolen Kia. At least one person got out of the vehicle and fired shots, hitting him multiple times. That victim is in critical condition. Officers later found the stolen Kia along South Woodlawn, and a 17-year-old boy was taken into custody. And Amazon has picked a Chicago suburb for a massive facility. The redevelopment will mainly be a retail location with limited warehouse component. This is set for Orland Park. The development will take over the site formerly occupied by Petey's, the second restaurant. This report is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. We're checking traffic coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees the left admitting failure.
Big story in the New York Times. Headline, How Biden Ignored Warnings and Lost Americans' Faith on Immigration and helped return Donald Trump to the White House. It's amazing to see even the New York Times admitting the failures of Joe Biden on immigration, even though it's a little too late to do anything about it now.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker, and I'm here with
Amy Jacobson
from Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker and Amy Jacobson here on AM 560 The Answer. Now, I'm a financial advisor, and Amy's the co-host for our program. You know, Amy, recently President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. A lot of folks aren't realizing, Amy, that if they have highly appreciated assets, they can potentially tax defer the capital gains tax place that money into a qualified opportunity fund, and then 10 years from now, get back out of that investment and pay no capital gains tax on either investment. Have you heard of such a thing, Amy?
I did not know about that. That seemed to be hidden in the bill.
It's only 900 some pages.
Yeah,
we have to pass it to see what's in it.
An easy beach read, yes.
Yes. And now there's another thing in the bill as well, Amy. Section 1202. Amy, did you read Section 1202?
I did not, but thank you for the homework assignment.
If you're a small business owner, many small business owners can now sell their small business and potentially pay no federal capital gains taxes on that capital gain of selling their business.
Wow.
If you'd like to get a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Text the keyword book, that's BOOK, to 224-496-3999. Text the keyword book to 224-496-3999. In addition to the free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? You'll also get our entire Retirement Decoded Toolkit. We'll also give you the opportunity to talk to us 15 minutes for free over the telephone at another time so we can go through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act with you, show you how to potentially sell your highly appreciated assets and pay no federal capital gains tax, how qualified opportunity funds work, and also if you're a small business owner, how to potentially pay no capital gains on the sale of your small business through Section 1202, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Text book to 224-496-3999 or call that very same number, 224-496-3999.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm does not offer tax advice.
Ah, the most beautiful time of year is upon us. Tax season. And Tax Slayer is here to help you file with 100% accuracy for your maximum refund. Guaranteed. Tax Slayer even has support from real U.S.-based humans if you have any questions along the way. File your federal return by February 8th for $22.99, and I'll help you get the refund you deserve. Take it from me, a talking calculator speaking to you through the speakers of wherever you are. Tax Slayer, file fearlessly.
The new year means new resolutions, not just for your body, but for your finances as well. Did you know that financial health is directly related to your identity protection? This is why you need LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your subscription money back. Resolve to make your identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com and save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best, better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Your stop and go on the inbound Stevenson from Harlem Avenue to Cicero Avenue because of an accident. So right now it's 24 minutes from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 16. The Dan Ryan is 19 minutes from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 11. The Tri-State slows down northbound from the Reagan Memorial to the Eisenhower, and it's 32 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 31. 22 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 27. The express lanes inbound slow down into Ohio Street, and it's 15 minutes both ways on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. The once-a-year sale and clearance is here. Upgrade today with Mattress Firm's quality selection of top brands. Let their sleep experts find the perfect bed to help transform your nights. They make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect mostly cloudy skies with a high of 40. Tonight will remain mostly cloudy in the evening, later transitioning to low clouds and fog with a low of 36. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions with areas of drizzle and a high of 41. By Wednesday, there will be a mix of clouds followed by sunshine with a high of 42. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We delved into the Somali daycare center and daycare center frauds and associated other apparent frauds. Some established, like Feeding Our Future, where there have been some 78 indictments associated with that $250 million scam in Mogadishu, Minnesota, formerly known as Minneapolis. But there are layers and layers and layers to this, and there's been a lot of reporting on it going back 10 years, but including recently. And it's not just Nick Shirley. Let's attack Nick Shirley to edited videos. He doesn't like Muslims, so on and so forth, white supremacist, all the usual ad hominem from the left. But then the problem is News Nation, as we brought you earlier in the program, News Nation reporter Rick McHugh is on the case. The problem is you had a expose by local network affiliates in Minneapolis on the job, pointing to the same thing. You had Liz Collin, former news anchor in Minnesota, interview a former Homeland Security inspection agent about a task force that was supposed to root out the fraud that all these people, including upwards of 200 human services state employees, had identified, had suspicions or even had drawn conclusions that fraud was occurring, and yet they were cut off at the pass every time they turned to authorities to move on these fraudsters. And we'll get into some more of those details. But let's pull back and sort of take a 30,000-foot view of this. A young woman who is, I guess, some sort of online influencer. She's enough of an online influencer that Elon Musk reposted her rant you're about to hear. Not really a rant, it was quite thoughtful. But reposted her commentary on X over the holidays. This is what she had to say about the Brazilian way, sparked by the Nick Shirley video and all of the commentary from every direction about that video and the larger problem of these transfer payment frauds that are going on in Minnesota and elsewhere around the country.
I want to talk about how the average American is starting to feel as major corruption is being exposed, especially now with the case in Minnesota and the daycare fraud. This is not just about money being stolen anymore. It's about a growing feeling that being a good citizen, being a hardworking person, paying your taxes may not be worth it. People are starting to feel stupid. They think, well, I'm here, I'm playing by the rules, I am working hard, I'm providing for my family, I'm doing the hard work, and I'm the idiot. You see the memes online and we laugh, like, oh, me on my way to work, thinking that I should have just opened a daycare center in Minnesota and made millions. And again, it is funny, but it's also deeply sad. Because the next thing is, why am I even doing this? And that's the part that no one wants to talk about, because this kind of feeling shapes culture. I come from Brazil, as you know, and in Brazil we have this thing we call the Brazilian way, which is the idea that there's always a shortcut, there's always a loophole, a way to take advantage of a situation. And people think it comes out of nowhere. Oh, it's just the Brazilian way of living. No, this comes from years of Brazilian people being robbed and nothing being done with the thieves. So we now think that survival means cheating the system before it cheats you. Eventually, people stop believing that being honest is rewarded. When a society teaches its citizens that being honest makes you a loser, well, that's really dangerous. You don't just lose money. You lose trust. You lose dignity. You lose the culture that holds it all together. And once that's gone, it's really hard to get back.
Does that sound familiar, Chicago? They call it the Brazilian way. I think we call it the Chicago way. Sounds eerily similar to, gosh, I don't know, my campaign platform when I ran for governor in 2020, and I said that Illinois isn't broken, it's fixed. My point being that government is working exactly as those in charge desire it because it works for them. Cheat the system before it cheats you. That's a good way to phrase it, as that young woman did. What she's talking about is how the kleptocracy is codified when people who play by the rules get fleeced by a government they finance. Purposely so. That's a feature, not a bug. Purposely so, and without political consequence. So then the populace learns the way to get ahead is not by being the most creative or industrious, but by providing political benefit to the powers that be in order to get yourself in queue for your insider deal, your contract, your carve-out, your appointment or exemption. Everyone exists under Orwell's spreading chestnut tree. I sold you and you sold me. So maybe while electorates in places in and around South America are resolving perhaps to return to a more enlightened form of government in 2026, we could do the same in Illinois. What do you think? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. In point of fact, long before Trump or even Angelo Codavilla's famous ruling class commentary, which spawned that term at maybe 2009, 20, was it before the 2010 midterms? Maybe it was right after. But anyway, the great academic since past, Angelo Codavilla, the ruling class, you should check out that commentary and all of his commentaries, including about the deep state. But anyway, before that, I penned an op-ed for Human Events back in in advance of the 2008 election, talking about the people who play by the rules party. We need a people who play by the rules party. That's exactly what that young woman is talking about. People who play by the rules that were set up to provide the guardrails for a free society. And what you find in these failed states, like Venezuela or Illinois, is exactly what that young woman said. Cheat the system before it cheats you. Cut me in or cut it out. And then, so I feel better about myself, I'm going to run around talking about how I'm my brother's keeper, which is why we have to keep the system the system in place that I benefit from just as it is, because I'll swat some breadcrumbs your way as long as I'm feasting on the cake. That's the system. And until you decide that you don't want that system anymore, you're going to corrode your culture. It will descend into kleptocracy. It doesn't have to be in Latin America or South America or other developing nations. It happens right here in America, right before your very eyes in places like Illinois. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Joe in Milwaukee.
Hey, Dan. My wife and I own a small business, and we did some year-end bonuses this year for ourselves. It's a small business. It's just the two of us. Bonused ourselves $108,000. We walked away with $48,000. The rest went away in taxes. What this Brazilian woman is talking about is really true. You just feel like you've been fleeced, especially when you see everything going on in Minneapolis. You hear about the stuff that's going to be coming out with the PPP fraud. It's just an absolute disgrace to go to work every day at 4 a.m. and work hard so I can give all that money to who knows where is just sad.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Joe. And then, of course, the problem is that if you don't want to play the cheat the system before it cheats you game, then you just throw up your hands and say, I give up. Nothing we can do about it. Illinois is over. Chicago's over. And, of course, the people cheating the system, particularly at the top of it, love that. That ensures stability. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. It sure works for me, and I can distribute pennies on the dollar of the largesse to enough people to keep them in line. There you go. And in Illinois, you can do that even with the putative opposition party. Underwrite it out of existence on the cheap. That's what's happened. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Dan, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, people who play by the rules need to take over the Republican Party.
like I've been saying for 5 years since I first started listening to you when COVID started. And you do it at the precinct level. Guys like Tom from Blue Island who call in and give me a hard time, get involved instead of being a cynic and saying, like you said, oh, it's too much, don't even bother. Because they love that. They love that. There's nothing worse than than apathy to the whole system. If you increase 5% each precinct in Illinois, you can make significant change. So I hope people find out who their precinct chair is. There probably isn't one, and you could become it. So, same story.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Gary, Naperville.
Hey, I totally agree, Dan, and you've been working on this for years, but I just want to, have a reminder on history and, be carefully approach, because you don't want to take a shotgun approach on this, because about 15 years ago, you came out to Page and Will, basically, get rid of people like Todd Morris and Gary Vishen, two supervisors, and we were promoting all kinds of reform, because I discovered that they weren't bidding things out realistically. We were paying double on all kinds of contracts. So as I started to bid things out, the regular insiders started attacking me. But you came out and got to help get all the committeemen to throw us out. So I got thrown out because I was reforming things, in part because I don't know if you remember meeting me at the meeting, but you really despised me because
Gary,
I've been lied to when I was on the board.
You're Gary Vishen?
Yes.
I remember you. When did I come out and attack you?
You came out about 2009, 2010 to reform things, and I totally agree with it, because there's all these insiders in DuPage, Cronin, Conley, there's all these people that were actually brought out from Cook County and funded. In fact, it took me. I was baffled how they did it, but what they did is they got like the teachers. I was a teacher. There's another reason people hated me as a Republican teacher. Teachers hated me. A bunch of Republicans said I got to be bad because I'm a teacher, And you didn't realize that they played a game with you. You obviously didn't have all the information, but the insiders wanted to get rid of us because we were reforming things. I saved millions of dollars. The taxpayers thought it was a miracle, but it was just a matter of being honest and really bidding out contracts. So, but you got to be careful. You don't want a shotgun approach. You don't want to just go in and blast out anybody that's in there. There's some people trying to do good things, believe it or not.
Well, yeah, I do believe it, and I try not to, and I don't remember. I remember you, and I don't remember exactly what the issue that I took up was, or that where I thought that you were in the wrong, because I think we started out quite friendly, because I believed you were a reformer.
Yeah, we did. I always liked you on the radio. I supported, and when you were running for governor, you were saying the right things. The problem is there's so many insiders that people don't even realize are working with the Democrats.
I understand that.
By the machine,
I understand that, and I don't take the approach that you're a Republican teacher, so you're bad. I take if you're a Republican, whether you're a teacher or not, and you throw in with the teachers' unions, then I've got a problem. So maybe that was an issue, but otherwise, no, I'm not attacking teachers just because you're a teacher. Quite the opposite.
Right. Well, and also in the 70s, the teachers' union actually supported Republicans, and I was at one time high in the teachers' union when they actually were, but then eventually in the 80s, they blackballed anybody that was a Republican. So I was like, I was a black sheep among the teachers too. So, but that was obviously, people could use that and say, hey, this guy was big in the IEA. I was a delegate to the NEA, IEA. I was high up in the teachers union, but I was trying to promote conservative values back then. I saw how much, especially with the Department of Education, they just destroyed education across the country by consolidating power in a few hands. And that's why we have to get rid of these big power organizations and get it down to local government. Because you even see in Illinois, the small school districts actually have more freedom and parental control. You can't control things in Naperville or Elgin or Chicago.
No, because the teachers unions do. Yeah, right.
Right. They completely run it. So that's why this push to consolidate everything is playing into the hand of the big, controllers in the Democrat Party. We need small government. We need people so they have a chance to do something about things and not have the big government control. So we got to get back to our original constitutional ideas. Local government, most things should be handled at a local level, at a small scale, but it's hard. Naperville's a big city. It's hard. It's hard.
Well, right.
To.
Thanks for the call, Gary. I appreciate it. Well, I mean, the other thing, which I've said for eons, is that the Republican Party should have long ago decoupled from the government unions. I'm talking about the teachers' unions, AFSCME and SEIU. We don't want your blood money. We're going to draw a bright line so people know the choice. But we have too many putative Republicans that are on the government union's dole, and that doesn't work either. It's one of the reasons why you don't see leadership on these issues. In point of fact, you had both John Curran and Tony McCombie, the two super minority leaders in the House and Senate, currently, who co-sponsored Amendment 1. So, yeah. The Vichy Republicans. I'm not saying you are, Gary, but the Vichy Republicans, the enemies inside our perimeter, that's who destroyed the Republican Party. It wasn't Madigan or Cullerton or Welch or Harmon. We did it to ourselves in Illinois because we played their kleptocratic game. And we're still doing it. Mike in Yorkville.
Good morning, Dan. I'd like to introduce a definition for 2026. It's called DOJ. It has two separate meanings depending on who's in charge. The first meaning is a non-action. That means there's evidence of a crime, but yet no action happens, such as arrests or indictments. And then there's the second part of the meaning, depending on who's in charge, which is the overreaction. When you use laws and bend them to your will with little to no evidence to create criminal activity.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for the call, Mike. I mean, I take your point. And I also understand that frustration. The lack of indictments, where's the accountability? But again, I mean, let's see this play out as this has heated up. I'm talking about not just in Minnesota, but across the country. And we'll talk more about this with Alex Berenson at the top of the hour. But point of order. In the Feeding Our Future $250 million scam, there have been nearly 80 indictments. So that's not nothing. And the names, if you read the names of all those indicted, they read like an eye chart. I mean, they're all, it's a Somali-driven scam. It just is. I'm not saying that Somalis are the only ones committing fraud in this country, hardly. But that's what it is in Minnesota. And we're seeing this play out in similar fashion in other states. As I mentioned, there are serious questions in Boston, in Maine, in Seattle, Washington. So we'll pick up this conversation. I also wanted to get to something, actually, that Frasier, Kelsey Grammer has weighed in. So if you don't believe me, then maybe you'll listen to a TV psychiatrist. But in response sort of to the Brazilian way offering and the Chicago way discussion we've been having. But first, we'll talk big picture, welfare state, Medicaid program specifically, with Alex Berenson at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Venezuela's captured leader is now in a New York City courthouse. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
This is what it looks like when you have decisive action to take out and eliminate and arrest and bring to justice individuals who are pouring narcotics into the streets of America and causing deaths to tens of thousands of Americans.
That's what FBI Director Kash Patel just told Fox. And 2 days after the U.S. raid that took Maduro and his wife into custody, they were taken from their jail cells in Brooklyn to face arraignment in Manhattan. Fox's Todd Pyro's there.
Maduro, as we know by now, is accused of running a multi-billion-dollar drug operation in partnership with the cartels, flooding the U.S. with hundreds of tons of narcotics for over 2 decades. He was indicted on 4 counts, including narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices.
President Trump said this about Venezuela last night on Air Force One.
The country is a mess.
It's been horribly run. Adding the U.S. is in charge there now, and if the acting president, who was Maduro's VP, Delcy Rodriguez, does not do what's right, she could pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro. The president also said, flying back to the White House, Cuba looks like it's ready to fall, and
Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it very long.
A reporter then asked if there will be a U.S. operation in Colombia. The president responded, sounds good to me. He also again said the U.S. should take control of Greenland, which Denmark's leader does not like hearing.
Mette Frederiksen says the U.S. has no right to annex any part of the Kingdom of Denmark. That includes Greenland, which President Trump says the United States needs for national security. Danish Prime Minister Frederiksen says it's time to stop the threats against a historically close ally.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. A man's in custody in Ohio, arrested by Secret Service early this morning, accused of vandalizing Vice President Vance's home in Cincinnati. The VP and his family were not home at the time. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning, 32 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm John Cruz in the newsroom. Mainly cloudy today, will be in the mid-40s this afternoon. Chicago police need help finding a suspect wanted for a deadly shooting on December 19th. On Sunday, authorities released video of the individual wanted from that shooting in the Little Village neighborhood. A 23-year-old woman was riding in a car when an unknown suspect fired multiple shots in her direction. She was pronounced dead later that night. If you have any tips, you're asked to call CPD. A 3-year-long closure set to start today for one of Chicago's busiest train stations. If your commute is at the heart of the loop downtown, you will need alternate routes. The CTA State and Lake Station will be demolished, part of a $400 million reconstruction project. Now, the new station will feature wider platforms, new elevators for full ADA compliance, and improved lighting and visibility. The station set to reopen in 2029. A manhunt underway in DuPage County for 2 burglary suspects who ran from a traffic stop off I-355. Elmhurst police say it happened around 2 a.m. near the Maple Avenue exit. They were already pursuing the suspect vehicle with 4 people arrested, but 2 others fled on foot. If you see any suspicious individuals in that area, you're asked to call 911. Authorities investigating a deadly shooting in downtown Decatur. Police say 2 men were shot Saturday in the 200 block of North Church Street. One of the victims was pronounced dead at the hospital. No arrests have been made. No one hurt following a house fire in Peoria. The blaze broke out Saturday night at a home in the 5,000 block of North Frostwood Parkway. The cause determined to be accidental due to an electrical malfunction. The residents of the home were displaced until repairs are complete. And it is Wild Card Weekend with a rare matchup between the Bears and Packers at Soldier Field this coming Saturday. After capturing the number 2 seed in the NFC by losing to the Lions last night, the Bears haven't seen the Pack in the playoffs since 2011. This report is service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. We're checking traffic coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Shares of U.S. oil companies are higher. Investors are betting that the arrest of President Nicolas Maduro will ease restrictions on Venezuelan crude exports. This week, economic reports return to a normal schedule following last year's government shutdown. The December employment report will be released on Friday, its normal release date. Drug company Sanofi says the FDA is reviewing a request to possibly expand the current age for its type 1 diabetes drug to include children as young as 1 year old. The treatment is currently approved for children as young as 8. Wall Street analysts are predicting more gains this year, even though stocks have posted double-digit percentage increases for 3 straight years. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
Mike Gallagher stands up to the bullies.
I think this boils down to recognizing the actual evil that we're facing. It is absolute evil to attack Erica Kirk. There's no gray area here. You want to sit around and attack a grieving widow who just months ago lost her husband. You're rotten to the core. Your soul is gone.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit AlmostFreeTeeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed. She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home. Residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient, from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Eller. Stop and go delays northbound on Lakeshore Drive as you head into Hollywood Avenue, and the Stevenson is real slow inbound between Harlem Avenue and Cicero Avenue with a collision off on the right shoulder. So it's 22 minutes from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, outbound is 16. The Dan Ryan slows down from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 19 minutes, outbound is 11. Stop and go delays on the Tri-State northbound as you approach the Eisenhower, 38 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the old post office, outbound is 39, 29 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, outbound is 33, and the Eden inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose is 15 minutes, outbound is 16. This report is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 40. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies in the evening, later followed by low clouds and fog. The low will be around 36. Tomorrow, anticipate mostly cloudy conditions with areas of drizzle and a high temperature of 41. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I wouldn't call this breaking news, but I would call it breaking scuttlebutt. A alert listener called in earlier in the program and asked if, per this press conference, Tim Walz, Field Marshal Tim, he's the guy that fully supports the First Amendment, except if you say something he finds distasteful. Then he doesn't. That Field Marshal Tim Walz has a press conference today and was wondering if he's stepping down. He's not going to run again in 26 for governor. And I suggested that I would be skeptical of that unless he thought he was going to be indicted per this federal investigation into the systemic welfare system fraud in Minnesota. And the reporting now is, or the rumor now is, and this is from a very reliable source, is that Walz is going to announce he is not running for re-election. That Senator Amy Klobuchar, the dynamic Amy Klobuchar, Minnesota nice, she is going to run for governor. She is midterm in her Senate seat, so she doesn't have to give up her Senate seat. If she wins, then she'll be governor and she can appoint her replacement. All nice and tidy. So that's the rumor that's out there. And it's strictly surprising to me because they find Tim Walz do the DFL. Boy, I'll tell you, how bad you have to be for the DFL in Minnesota to say, you're really off the rails. Apparently, Tim Walz bad because the belief is that he has become too much of a liability politically to continue on, and so they're pressing him out of the race the same way they pressed the big guy out of the race in 24 to make way for Kamala and Walz. Oh, boomerang. So we'll see if that's how it plays out. But of course, the larger issue is not the political future of Tim Walz, because who cares other than celebrating that he doesn't have one? It's the systemic corruption. There has been some action taken. I mentioned earlier in the program when we discussed this, of course, we have now FBI and Homeland Security agents on the ground following up, not just on Nick Shirley's guerrilla reporting, but on reporting, frankly, that should have been followed up on long ago, because it's a decade worth of reporting from local network affiliates to independent journalists like Nick Shirley to even present day quote-unquote cable news journalists like Rick McHugh over at News Nation. The clips we played you of his site visits to assisted living facilities, alleged, to home health care businesses, alleged. Action taken at the federal level. Deputy Secretary at Health and Human Services announced over the holidays they have frozen all child care payments to the state of Minnesota. We are also doing a comprehensive audit of all the centers that received a combination of state and federal money, they said. They launched a dedicated fraud reporting hotline and email address at childcare.gov. We have turned off the money spigot. We're finding the fraud, says DHS. Kelly Loeffler over at SBA, Small Business Administration. Our agency took action to suspend 6,900 Minnesota borrowers amid suspected fraudulent activity. In total, these borrowers were approved for 7,900 PPL and EIDL loans worth approximately $400 million. They're going to be banned from all SBA loan programs, including disaster loans, going forward. We'll refer every case where appropriate to federal law enforcement for prosecution. Look, at the state level, particularly in failed states like Minnesota or Illinois or California, New York, there should be calls for auditing every agency that is involved in transfer payments, not to mention every driver's license facility that's involved in conferring commercial driver's licenses. Systemic fraud. Our friend Alex Berenson wrote about this over the holidays, and he really hit the mark. His piece resonated with me. I commented on it, and I'll share my comments in our discussion. But we're pleased now to be joined by Alex Berenson.
Hey.
And, of course, I'll give you your proper props. Make sure if people haven't signed up for your Substack or bought your book, they do. Author of Pandemia, How Coronavirus Hysteria Took Over Our Government Rights, Lives, and Government Rights and Lives. His Substack, Unreported Truths. That's where I read his piece. alexberenson.substack.com. Unreported Truths. Alex, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks for having me.
So the point that you made, which I think is the big one, is that the big fraud is the Medicaid program writ large.
Yes. And particularly, I mean, I think it's in every state, but particularly in blue states where there's sort of very wide eligibility and very wide kinds of programs that are allowed. And in fact, in New York, and I believe in Minnesota and in a number of other states, the Biden administration has expanded what are called 1115 waivers, which are social determinants of health, meaning Medicaid will now, they'll pay for you to have better food because, food is an important part of health, or they'll pay for you, in some cases, even have housing because, housing is an important part of health. So this expands Medicaid to a sort of a true welfare program doing everything except direct income support.
Gym memberships, that's an important part of health.
No, it is. It is. I mean, listen, you can at least understand what they're doing, but at least theoretically, but the impact is to turn Medicaid into a full body program.
Yes. Well, it's what your piece reminded me of, and this is something that even most Illinoisans don't know or don't recall. But it reminded me going back to the Blagojevich era when the entire country was about him selling the Senate seat, right? Selling Barack Obama's Senate seat. I've got this thing and it's effing golden. But if you remember his impeachment, because he was impeached and removed from office in addition to, of course, being convicted of federal corruption charges. One of the reasons he was impeached because he illegally, sort of unilaterally expanded the state's Medicaid program. He was trying to make Medicaid a middle-class entitlement to get more people on the Medicaid dole long before it was all the rage among the left. And so the sanctuary state, and now fast forward to the sanctuary state era under Pritzker and blue state governors, to your point, and these guys make Blago look like a piker by comparison.
Yes, absolutely. And so, when you combine it with sanctuary state, and the other big one in blue states in particular is the home health aid program, where you can get paid to take care of your grandmother. Right? When you add all of this up, it becomes giant. Not billion, but closer to the hundreds of billions of dollars of income transfer, essentially. And here's the thing: like, if that's what the United States wants, if we want sort of universal basic income and a giant welfare state and AFDC back, then let the Democrats propose that, right? Let's have a debate about that. What they've done is kind of backdoor all this stuff.
Right. Well, they know they can't sell it on its merits, so they have to use sleight of hand, and sleight of rhetoric, and that's what they do.
Yes. And so in some ways, it's almost unfair to blame Minnesota or Walz because they're just doing what the entire Democratic Party wants them to do.
Well, right. Although, like if you're a co-conspirator and a fraud, even if you're in public office, then you share the blame. I mean, it's basically a criminal conspiracy, and it really is when you have, like I mentioned, Minnesota just being sort of center stage right now. You have all of this reporting from outlets you can't just dismiss as conservative. For a decade. And so it was willful blindness. You have upwards of 200 state employees, probably mostly not MAGA supporters, that open letter putting this all on Tim Walz. I mean,
that's right.
That's a lot.
That's right. No, I mean, you're right. I shouldn't say we shouldn't blame Tim Walz. It's almost like I think I said this at the end of one of the pieces last week. We shouldn't blame the Somalis, right? Like when you walk people into a room filled with money and walk out and say, hey, don't touch any of that money. So some of those people are going to take some money.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, it is it is stunning that that I think the liberal and sort of legacy media has had no choice at this point but to actually start to look at it. But for a very long time, they really weren't willing to.
Yeah. Maybe if I was still domiciled in Illinois, I could get my Pilates lessons like half off. I could if there's some kind of enrollment program. I'm just thinking, I just want to get cut in like everybody else, Alex.
Well, okay, yes, but you joke, but I think you make a good point, which is, and this is true I will say on the Republican side, this is true when you don't have any tax enforcement. Okay, when you set it up where nobody has to pay taxes unless they do so voluntarily, and then on the Democratic side, you set up this stuff where people can just steal from the government with both hands. People who play by the rules eventually start to feel like fools.
Yes,
and that's not a good place for the country to be.
We were just talking about that. Sort of my campaign moniker when I ran 16 years ago now. Illinois isn't broken, it's fixed. And then the comments by this young Brazilian woman online that went viral after Musk reposted it, talking exactly about that. It's almost a humiliation ritual, and you feel like, okay, this is I either drop out of civil society and just eke out an existence, or I try to curry favor with the political elite, so so as she said, I cheat the system before it cheats me.
That's right. And I think the Biden administration, did make this worse, right? Things like, they sort of almost had an intentionality of, we're going to open the border, we're going to encourage people to come, we're going to set up these programs and encourage essentially people to steal from them.
Yes, and we're all going to bask in the warmth of collectivism, as we learned last week.
Oh, my God, yes. This is what a large part of the Democratic Party, including young Democrats, want.
And, one of the things that I've been saying for some time is that some place, and I don't know exactly where or when, but someplace there's going to be a surprise. There is going to be a revolt against this. And maybe there were Minnesota DFLers that was fearing it was going to be in Minnesota. It hasn't really happened today, but maybe it's in the offing. They were going to zig when the rest of the nation potentially zags in November for the midterms. Well, I don't know if that's what they were thinking, but do you see that, or do you just see this as sort of a slow, methodical march down this road to serfdom that we're describing?
So, I mean, in the U.S., what you see is people moving, right? You see,
yeah, right,
and so people move from New York to Florida, they move from Illinois to Texas, and so they kind of vote with their feet. But the blue states, at least New York and California, because they're such, New York's a global city, and so they've been able to kind of make up for that, to mask that hollowing out. But I think in Minnesota, or in Illinois in particular, and to a lesser extent in Minnesota, these states that don't have this kind of like top super rich group that they can kind of lean on, will there actually be a point when the state's finances become untenable and there's a revolt? I mean, it seems like Illinois is the closest to having that happen.
Alex Berenson, author of Pandemia, How Coronavirus Hysteria Took Over Our Government, Rights, and Lives. His Substack, Unreported Truths, which you can read and sign up for at alexberenson.substack.com. Alex, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks for having me.
And Alex joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Did you know that most remodeling problems start before construction begins? Unclear plans, uncertain timelines, unexpected costs. At Forever Remodeling, every kitchen, bathroom, and basement remodel starts with smart planning, clear project details, 3D design previews, and accurate upfront pricing before you commit to the project. With Forever Remodeling, there is no stress, no guesswork, no surprises. Ready to remodel? Start with a smart plan today by visiting foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us, and it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Listen up. I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body. It steals your life. I know this because I've seen it with people I care about. If joint pain is holding you back, start the new year by doing something different. There's a way to get real relief without surgery and without putting your life on pause. But you have to take that first step and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. They provide regenerative treatments that help your body repair the areas that are causing pain. I've talked to people who have been through this. These are real results. Achy knees, hips, shoulders, wherever it hurts, instead of facing surgery that sidelines you for months, QC Kinetics treatments happen in the office. Simple procedures that deliver big, life-changing results. January is supposed to be your clean slate, so make it one. Stop managing the pain and start solving it. Call now to learn more and tell them Dan Proft sent you. When you do, that's me. The number, 312-827-6261. 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Whether you are old or young, no one likes to lose money. The market is at an all-time high. How much risk does your portfolio really have in it? Are you worried that you could lose your hard-earned money? Call TJ Stearns in Arlington Heights at 800-640-2256 for your free risk report. Call right now and we will include a full analysis of your portfolio. Don't wait until it's too late. Call TJ Stearns, a local and longtime sponsor on AM 560. Call 800-640-2256. Call now and tell him AM 560 sent you.
The new year means new resolutions, not just for your body, but for your finances as well. Did you know that financial health is directly related to your identity protection? This is why you need LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your subscription money back. Resolve to make your identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com and save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
If you've ever caught yourself putting hemorrhoid cream on your toothbrush instead of toothpaste, you might need a better night's sleep.
People are loving Penny Mustard's line of double-sided memory foam mattresses.
If you told your boss, I love you, when ending a phone call, you might need a better night's sleep.
Made in Wisconsin and built to last 45% longer than the average memory foam mattress.
If the server says, enjoy your meal, and you respond, you too.
Insanely comfortable, exclusive, double-sided memory foam developed by the sleep geniuses at Penny Mustard.
If you hugged your dentist when he was trying to unclip your bib.
Offering zero-gravity sleep positioning.
And backed by a 1-year comfort guarantee.
If you spend 20 minutes following an unsuspecting stranger around their hardware store because you thought he was your husband, you might need a better night's sleep.
And a better night's sleep starts at Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Find a showroom near you at pennymustard.com.
Better versions of the sleep people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Honey, I can't deal with this kitchen anymore. It's cramped and everything is outdated.
I know, but it makes no sense to move. I could call my contractor buddy Chad.
Babe, you've seen Chad's house, right?
Yeah, good point.
Plus, he showed up late for his own wedding. Let's get someone who's reliable.
How about Forever Remodeling? They have a team of interior designers, master installers, and project managers all under one roof.
Their reviews on Google look amazing, and homeowners post a ton of pictures of their work.
It looks like they even offer 3D rendering of their projects.
Just like my TV design shows.
Exactly.
Plus, AM 560 listeners get a free in-home design consultation.
From kitchens to bathrooms, basements to whole homes, the design build team at Forever Remodeling takes the stress out of remodeling. They're done on time and guaranteed to match your vision. Visit them online at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
Sean Thompson here, and with me today is my friend Dr. Michael Huber, who is one of the creators and developers of Virago. Why don't you tell us what Virago is and the benefits of it?
I created Virago with 23 natural ingredients that work together to create this immune response in the body. I created it to fight viruses.
Well, what I love about it is I don't want to put anything in my body that isn't natural. So I love the idea that you took 23 natural ingredients and mixed them together. And the benefits of that can be different to everybody, as everybody's unique, but at least you know they're all natural ingredients.
They're natural bioflavonoids, natural vitamins, nothing synthetic about the vitamins. Like they have synthetic E out there and they have that. I didn't use any of those synthetic vitamins. Only natural vitamins, only natural bioflavonoids. That's the only thing that I would use.
I absolutely love it. Go to myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha.
Maha starts with Virago.
Making America healthy again.
AM 560, The
Answer. Well, my breaking scuttlebutt turned into actual breaking news. My source was correct. Just came up with the transom that Field Marshal Tim up there in Minnesota not going to seek re-election for a third term, bowing out. I'm sure the Amy Klobuchar angle is on the mark too. She steps in. She appoints a senator if she wins the governor's race. Nice and tidy, like I mentioned. Well, maybe we could get Governor Jelly Belly to do the same. Step out. I mean, he's just as bad, if not worse, than Tim Walz. If Tim Walz was box office poison in Minnesota, how is it that Jelly Belly isn't the same in Illinois? We'll pick it up there and extend this conversation we've been having for the last hour, including most recently with Alex Berenson, about the response to this systemic welfare state fraud and the politicians that perpetuate it. 8:38, now we check the headlines.
Good morning, 33 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm John Cruz in the newsroom. Sunny and 41 today, chance of snow back tonight. Overnight, President Trump reaffirming the U.S. is in control of Venezuela after the raid that led to the capture of dictator Nicolas Maduro. Maduro accused of leading a 25-year terror campaign on drugs. He's now at a Manhattan federal court, expected to be arraigned in a few hours. Meanwhile, Venezuelans in Chicago reacting to the weekend capture of Maduro and his wife. Hundreds of protesters out in Federal Plaza on Saturday.
It doesn't matter who does or doesn't support Maduro.
it's completely outrageous and against international law for the U.S. to attack him.
That is one protester. There's also counter-protesters who said the removal of Maduro was a good thing. And police in DuPage County looking for 2 burglary suspects along I-355 in Downers Grove early this morning. Elmhurst police say they were pursuing 2 suspects around 2 this morning. 4 others were taken into custody, but 2 fled on foot and were last seen running from the ramp off Maple Avenue. If you've seen any activity in the area, you're asked to call 911. This report, a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its perks and privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and a special members-only content area. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. We're checking traffic in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees the left admitting failure.
Big story in the New York Times. Headline, How Biden Ignored Warnings and Lost Americans' Faith on Immigration and helped return Donald Trump to the White House. It's amazing to see even the New York Times admitting the failures of Joe Biden on immigration, even though it's a little too late to do anything about it now.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it cripples your life. I know this because I've seen it with people I care about. If joint pain is holding you back, start the new year by doing something different. There's a way to get real relief without surgery and without putting your life on pause. But you have to take that first step and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. They provide regenerative treatments that help your body repair the areas that are causing pain. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. Achy knees, hips, shoulders, wherever it hurts, instead of facing surgery that sidelines you for months, QC Kinetics treatments happen in the office. Simple procedures that deliver big, life-changing results. January is supposed to be your clean slate month, so make it one. Stop managing the pain and start solving it. Call now to learn more. And tell them Dan Proft, that's me, sent you when you do. The number, 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics to start the year right. 312-827-6261.
Too often, cremated remains are kept at home, then forgotten. At Queen of Heaven Cemetery in Hillside, we have your cremation options. Come visit our new cremation garden, see our beautiful granite columbariums, or view our elegant indoor glass front niches. These offer sacred, lasting ways to honor your loved one. If cremation is your choice, our memorialization is a forever option. Give them the dignity of a permanent resting place where they'll be remembered for generations. Visit us today, CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org.
RedState.com captures the pulse of grassroots conservatism. Red State staff of contributors are on top of breaking news with stories and analysis that challenge the established agenda. RedState.com educates, motivates, and activates passionate conservatives across America, arming them with the facts that put them ahead of the political curve. No wonder RedState.com is a must-read for elected officials and for citizens who want to make their vote count. RedState.com is the place where influence meets action. Log on to RedState.com today.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still jam-packed northbound on Lakeshore Drive as you head into Hollywood Avenue. You do have an accident on the Stevenson inbound at Damon Avenue. It's off on the right shoulder, so right now it's 20 minutes from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 15. The Dan Ryan is 17 minutes from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Looking good on the outbound side at 11. It's 37 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 36. The Kennedy inbound Eastbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange is 30 minutes. Outbound is 28. You are stop and go on the Kennedy Express inbound from North Avenue to Ohio Street, and it's 16 minutes inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound is 15. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. The once-a-year sale and clearance is here. Upgrade today with Mattress Firm's quality selection of top brands. Let their sleep experts find the perfect bed to help transform your nights. They make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect mostly cloudy skies with a high of 40. Tonight will remain mostly cloudy in the evening, later transitioning to low clouds and fog with a low of 36. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy conditions with areas of drizzle and a high of 41. By Wednesday, there will be a mix of clouds followed by sunshine with a high of 42. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I referenced this last hour, but we were unable to get to it. I want to get to it now. But it's sort of connected to the conversation we've been having over the last couple of segments about the Brazilian way, as that one online commentator described. Cheat the system before it cheats you. The Chicago way, the Illinois way. Illinois isn't broken, it's fixed. Corollary. What should we do in response to the latest attention that systemic welfare fraud is receiving? And as you peel back the layers on this, you go state by state, and you're seeing the same behavior that has been probably most well documented in Minnesota, because you present incentives and people respond to them. They don't, people respond to incentives. You present incentives to live freely on the backs of other people, and a lot of people will take you up on the offer. And that's what's been done, as we were just discussing with Alex Berenson. It's systemic change that's required to combat the corrosive cultural impact of systemic fraud. And particularly given the audacious action that President Trump took with his incursion into Venezuela to apprehend 2 fugitives from justice and bring them to America to face our justice system, as per the indictments that have been open against them for the past 5 years plus. Will we take some political risks? Will we start to defend ourselves as opposed to just being spectators cheering on President Trump or some independent journalist or whatever the political figure or commentator du jour? We take some ownership of this. And that's why I wanted to get to Kelsey Grammer. Frasier, I would argue the greatest sitcom in sitcom history, in television history. And certainly Frasier was the greatest character in the longest running over Cheers and Frasier in sitcom history. But I'm not talking about sitcoms. I'm talking about Kelsey Grammer, American citizen and thoughtful guy. Yeah, he's conservative. Supported Chitterelli in that New Jersey governor's race, cut a commercial for him. He's doing something. He also has this observation. It's an observation worthy, I should say, of Frasier.
The habits of the left, when they are out of power, is to just keep throwing lawnmowers or throwing rocks at glass houses, whatever you want to say. But they know it's not true. They know I'm not a racist, but they'd call me one. They know I'm not a fascist, but they'd call me one. But it's more important that I know I'm not one. And what's really more important, I think, for Republicans in general now is to understand that Donald Trump's not standing in the gap anymore. He can't protect us anymore. They dished out everything they could give him. They tried to kill him. They tried to kill him twice. They tried to imprison him for life. They tried to impeach him twice. He stood there bravely and took everything of it. And we all voted for him because he was still standing at the end of the day. We actually voted for him because of the left. So they got what they got their own desserts. But now they're after us. There's a guy in Virginia who got elected who thinks he should actually kill his opponent's children. This is shocking to me. That's not the world I grew up in, and I can't believe that actually happened. I can't believe there's that many people in Virginia that would vote that way. I actually may not believe that there's that many people in Virginia that voted that way. I don't know how it's possible, but there it is. And as long as that's what's going on, then they've kind of lost the plot. But they're so angry, they're gonna try to win it back. And we have to stand there knowing that it's Donald Trump can't protect us anymore. We have to do it ourselves.
What do you think? Are you going to protect yourself? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Pretty good observation from old Frage, isn't it? Certainly about what the left does when they're out of power. We see that in real time on a daily basis. But, the days are dwindling when Trump can protect us, or or maybe you necessarily have someone you can even cheerlead. You can even stomach being a spectator for, hoping that they will do all the heavy lifting for you. Earlier in the show, somebody talked about, and I've seen some of the chatter online too, about, bringing Maduro to justice. Well, what about bringing Brandon Johnson to justice, or J.B. Pritzker? Or what about you doing it? Isn't it interesting, just as I mentioned before the break, to see Tim Walz essentially forced out of his run for a third term in Minnesota? That seems pretty obvious that's what happened. But that's because they actually have an opposition party in Minnesota. Yeah, I know they dominate on the left dominates on the statewide level, but as we've talked about before, the legislative level is very competitive, very close. And there's a few congressmen from Minnesota that are worth a lick. But are you willing to take any risks to make an impact in Illinois, if that's where you live? Make an impact in Indiana for recalcitrant state senators who won't use the power they have to try to increase the number of Republicans in the congressional delegation with a remap, since that seal has been broken? If you live in Northwest Indiana, for example? Or are you just going to be a spectator, hoping that somebody else will come along at some point to protect you? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Ron, Southside.
Hey, that was a great piece that you just played. And you're so right, Dan. We have to do it for ourselves. Stand up and fight. Dan, guaranteed income program. I think the county has some nonsense where you get $500, no string attached. I thought guaranteed income was a job. Okay, that's what a job is. Secondly, you mentioned Dan,
not guaranteed.
Yeah, right. But I thought that you took care of your elderly because you loved them. I remember as a child, I'm 60-some years old. We didn't get paid to take care of the elderly. These programs are totally ridiculous. But lastly, I cannot talk to you and not mention the scumbag that you mentioned, Blagojevich. I don't know, you last week there it was in the paper.
Fox News contributor.
And he's lobbying for Annie Parmesan. He said she's 100% innocent. And I called the other day open line and said, no, she's not. The jury found her to be corrupt and guilty like him. And she needs to go to prison like he did. I had to say, because you mentioned, you're talking about a piece of garbage. So, all right, then. Hey, welcome back. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Thanks for the call, Ron. Yep. Still looking for the guilty man in Shawshank from Illinois. Everybody's innocent. Lawyer screwed me, right? Premajori from ComEd. Lago, former governor. Right. I know, because everybody's doing it. So, that makes it okay because we're a bunch of second graders. Michigan, Verlon in Michigan.
Corruption. This should be one of the main focuses that we take all the way to the midterms. I think this will win it for us. Look, David Hansen, Victor David Hansen has a whole website with all of the corruption up to $76 billion laid out in California, from the fire relief fund being stolen, their welfare fraud, and the big one that nobody's talking about right now is the unemployment insurance fraud. $55 billion of that $76 billion is that alone. And just imagine in Illinois, I know this for a fact. I know this is going down for a fact. In Illinois, I call the CPAs, and I call them bootleg tax preparers, were taking people's likenesses. They'll run it through the unemployment and insurance agency, and you will get either a $20,000 check or a $40,000 check. And the way the kickback scheme was, the tax preparer would get either $5,000 to $7,000 if you got $20,000, and if you get a $40,000, if you pick the $40,000, they would get $10,000 to $13,000 kickback. Illinois right now, and Chicago, especially in the surrounding suburbs, they're fighting not to turn over their records to the federal government. I think it's 22 states, but Illinois is one of them. You can just imagine, New York used to be the most corrupt state. Chicago is the most corrupt city now. Just imagine the fraud that's happening right there in Illinois alone. That should be checked into a little more. Fraud is the big red button, Dan. That's the big red button.
Thanks for the call, Verlon. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, good morning. In the words of Tim Walz's wife, we're turning the page. Have a nice life in China.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Yes, he did enjoy it there. All right. Thanks, Glenn. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Text from 847. If the Trump administration is going to bring Pritzker to justice like they did Maduro, they're going to need a bigger helicopter. Yeah, that's probably true. And bigger holding pen, too. Making the switch to a new IT services and support company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs every working day, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts, and proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer. These are the guys you want to talk to. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. They're local and in tune with Chicago businesses. So whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you and your business, serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run. A trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, and tech startups, manufacturers. They will make the switch for you easier than you think. So call them today to discuss your business needs and tell them I sent you. When you do, the number, 1-800-654-1555. That's 1-800-654-1555. Or visit them online at accessoneinc.com. That's Access One, spell out the number, O-N-E, Access, O-N-E, Inc.com. Access One, tech made personal, locally. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled, and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Tired of tech headaches slowing your business down? Unique Computing Solutions has been the go-to IT team for businesses in Illinois and Northwest Indiana for nearly 30 years. We've seen how a poor IT infrastructure can cripple productivity. Your systems should be running smoothly, your data secured, and your communication should be streamlined. Get a free assessment today at uniquecomputing.solutions.com. That's uniquecomputing.solutions.com. Your IT challenges solved.
AM 560, The Answer.
Okay, we have to kick off the new year with a Dave Swirsky review of the Chicago Bears. Now, this isn't the Lions' loss yesterday. This goes back a week to the San Francisco loss in that epic game. But nonetheless, it works because the Dave Swirsky offering here was the Bears still had the prospect to be the 2 seed in the NFC, and they are the 2 seed in the NFC, hosting the Packers on Saturday. Here's Swirsky's offering to kick off the new year with a little bit of fun.
Ford is super fan will wallow thinking about what could be. No chance now for that 1 seed. Maybe that's the way the seeding's meant to go. Guess we'll see. We can't be that number 1 seed, but this loss won't define. No wins for season, it still could be our time. The Bears trying to see the silver lining. We are still the North Kings and could be the number 2 seed. Levi's was loud, but we didn't back down. And the Niners, they won. And though I'm feeling blue, it's not tragical. The season's been so magical. I'm sure the loss is on my mind. Before this super fan will wallow thinking about what could be. Wave goodbye to that 1 seed. Maybe that's the way it's all supposed to go. Guess we'll see. Just not meant for that 1 seed, but this loss won't define. Nope, this magic season still could be our time. The Bears. So hold on to this silver lining. We are still the North Kings and could still be the 2 seed.
Yes, and they are. He's very partial to Lady Gaga. I suppose some of her songs set up for his brand of a parody song. Anyway, very good as always. By the way, since I mentioned, since we played that clip from Kelsey Grammer, and I mentioned Frasier, the greatest sitcom of all time, and Frasier, the greatest character in a sitcom of all time. Friend texted me, Mensa once did a survey of its membership about their television watching habits, and the number 1 favorite show for Mensa members was Frasier. Well, of course it was. I'm in good company, as is my wont. All right. Thank you for joining us on this inaugural 2026 edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Back with more tomorrow on today's topics and certainly more, including more local. We'll get to it. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
An arraignment is in 2 hours in New York City. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 2 days after Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro was captured along with his wife in a U.S. military raid. FBI Director Kash Patel tells Fox.
Every component of this operation, every link in this chain was flawlessly executed by the experts in the intelligence community and law enforcement and military sectors, and we were proud to be a part of it.
Maduro and Celia Flores are facing narco-terrorism and drug and weapons charges flown by helicopter this morning from their jail cells in Brooklyn to a federal courthouse in Manhattan, where Fox's Eric Shawn reports.
The indictment says, quote, "This cycle of narcotics-based corruption lines the pockets of Venezuelan officials and their families, while also benefiting violent narco-terrorists who operate with impunity on Venezuelan soil and who help produce, protect, and transport tons of cocaine to the United States."